waiting for everybody to get settled. If you will, please in the chat, answer what is the best thing that you did for yourself this summer? And if that one doesn't excite you, you could talk about your favorite unit that you like to teach, since we're going to be talking about some of that today.
Susan, I'm thinking that's to be read pile. I was trying to translate that for myself. I like all you that are reading for pleasure. I like it.
Oh, Uganda. Wow. To hear more about that sometime.
I've not been to Uganda, but I'm watching Uganda on the TV with the Olympics right now.
Sleep in. I don't know how to do that.
Excuse me.
Emily's the runner of the group. Good for you.
Okay, listen, I'm gonna, as people continue to put their favorite unit to teach, as well as what their favorite thing they did personally for themselves this summer in the chat, I thought we would introduce the officers of the Health Science Educators Association. This group has been very instrumental in pulling this afternoon together. And so with that, you've heard from Lissa Bartle. I'll just ask her to wave. She is the president of HSEA, and she teaches in Florida. And then Karen Edwards is a teacher in South Carolina, and she is the current past chair of HSEA. The chair-elect is Melissa Sparks, and she teaches in North Carolina. And then we have the membership chair, Conjure Ledford from Kentucky. And then last but not least, we have the secretary, Kathy Slade, and Kathy teaches in Vermont. We do have a couple of celebrities on the call as well. And Shelley Waymeyer is from Missouri, and she serves as the board chair for NCHSE, and she serves as the health science state leader in Missouri. And with her is Angel Clark. I think I saw Angel. There she's waving. And Angel is from South Carolina, and she is the chair-elect for NCHSE. We have a couple of board members here as well. Kathy Celia, I see, and she represents American Medical Technologies on our executive council. And Denise Du Bois, she is from Wisconsin, and she is our secretary. And am I missing anybody? Because if you are on our executive council, we know that you are not shy. And so you're welcome to unmute yourself, because I don't have a full screen to see everybody. So if I missed anybody.
Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie Rousey's here with us.
Okay, and Cindy LeCoq. I forgot. Yes, Cindy LeCoq serves as our certificate program manager, and she is in Colorado. And Robbie Rousey represents uScience, our certificate partner, and he is in Utah. And I guess he was too shy to introduce himself since Matthew's here. He's a boy. There's a few more males on here, Robbie, so you don't have to feel too outnumbered. And so with that, Lissa, I'll hand it back to you, as I know you wanted to make some announcements.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for giving up your Saturday right before school starts. I know this is could be a challenging time, but it was now or later in August, and we felt everybody would just be too stressed by then. So thank you for coming today. Just to give you a little numbers, we have 428 people who have registered to participate in our webinar. representing 45 states. So that's really exciting. So if you are just now coming in the chat, we have 2 questions you could answer. The best thing that you did for yourself this summer, and also what is your favorite unit to teach? So before we get started, this is scheduled to be about 3.5 hours of professional development. You will be getting a certificate within a couple of weeks of the hours that you are in attendance. We will have a break at 2:30, although, you know, it's a Zoom, so you can break whenever you want to, but we will have an official break at 2:30. If you have any questions or comments for the speakers, because of the numbers of people that we have, if you could just write your question or comment that you have in the chat. We do have some chat managers who will be monitoring that and can help get your questions answered. Drum roll, will have a grand prize drawing for the attendee who is here for the whole entire webinar, start to finish. And that will be drawn next week. We're going to say drawn because we know there's going to be more than one of you. And your prize will be $100 off your conference registration for our conference that we have coming up in October, plus a free pre-conference registration. So that's $175 value. So, you know, it's worth your 3.5 hours to try and win that. So we will notify you next week once we have determined who was here for the whole entire time. So, all righty. So keeping us on schedule, we're going to start out with our presentation from Denise. So Karen, if you can do your thing.
Welcome, everyone. We are so happy that you are here with us today. As Lissa and Nancy have said, I get the pleasure of introducing Denise DeVroe from Reality Works, but she also sits on the NCHSE Executive Council. So we're happy to have her here. She is the Senior Product Manager from Reality Works with over 16 years experience in her role. She's received her BA in Education from St. Olaf College and a Master's in Educational Administration from William Howard Taft University. Denise has over 30 years of experience in the business of education and professional development, and product management. She is currently the co-chair for the Alliance for Family and Consumer Sciences, and again, also sits on our executive council. So thank you so much, Denise. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Karen, and welcome everyone to our wonderful program that we have lined up today. I get the pleasure of kicking off this wonderful day of programming with a brief look at building a health science program. And I'm going to be hopefully sharing some resources and some links and some things that can help you as you build out a brand new program or even update an existing one. So here are just a few things we're going to share today. Again, some resources for just general building any type of CTE pathway program. Then we're going to get into some specifics on what would be helpful for health science, and then even places to look for specific pathways and programs within health science and how the consortium can help. And of course, if you have any questions about anything as we go along, please do put it in the chat because we want to make sure that we're answering all of the questions that you might have today. So congratulations if you've decided to develop a pathway program for health science. It's easily one of the top growing occupational areas. Now, if you look at the top 10 that we found in this infographic, you can see many of them are centered around healthcare, especially those patient care occupations. Now, we know that healthcare professionals work in a broad variety of settings, from nursing homes to hospitals, and because of the many settings to choose from, this type of work will have appeal to a very wide range of your students. So one great place to help that we recommend is go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, known as NCHSE. And I'm going to start with actually going there to help you understand the role of the career pathway that you wish to create. And here's just a snapshot of some of the types of information. Students may even wonder about the difference in some of the very specific occupations, and some can be very, very similar. And BLS is just a great place to go to have them take a look. And we know things like hourly wages or even expected industry growth are listed here. And it's really good information to have, especially if you need some research and statistics to justify the program that you wish to build. Now, here's a closer look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics website for health occupations. And they have just a ton of places where you can click and drill down into some very specific occupations. You can go from, summary level all the way down to the different types of typical job duties and projected outlook and things like this. But again, just an excellent place to start. And also some of you may use your comprehensive local needs analysis to drive the pathways chosen that make sense for you locally. And if you need more information on that, if you go to Perkins 5 documentation, that's also very helpful. So we're going to look at and talk about the resources available to you at every stage of your planning process. And we're going to begin now at the broadest level of the resource, and that's any pathway program. And then later on, we're going to get more specific as we go. So I really like this graphic, and it's the 6 key elements for developing career pathways. And these elements, again, are important to consider for any pathway program you develop, including health science. And we're going to talk about several of these more closely, but not all. But this graphic was actually pulled from a 142-page document devoted to the details about developing pathways. So if you'd like more information about any one of these topics or want to do a very, very deep dive, you can go to the link on the provided to you on the slide here, and you could take a closer look. But we just thought that, again, we're going to try to tie in some of the resources and links that we're providing to these 6 key elements as we go along. So one of our very best practices we always like to advise people is build that advisory council. Involving your local health care industry leaders and clinical professionals in your pathway development is really critical. How can you understand what local employers are looking for in a healthcare professional if you don't ask? So consider putting together that healthcare advisory council and choose from a variety of settings and levels of responsibility so you can get a wide variety of viewpoints and input. If possible, we say, meet on a regular basis, perhaps even quarterly, and have that frank dialogue and ask, what are you looking for in your employees? And does your course content align with what they are looking for in the employees that they hire? And then to lighten the load, think about combining your advisory council with other health science specialties to get the most information in the most efficient manner possible. You can also use an advisory council to form key partnerships. You could ask them, are you willing to allow students at your location for either field or job experience or even job shadowing? Also, are they interested or available to coming in to be a guest speaker in your program or classes? So we find that engaging employers is one of those 6 key elements for developing career pathways as seen on the earlier slide. Now, many districts require that career pathways created lead to some sort of industry recognized certification or credential of some sort. So in order to find that right certification or credentials for your program, ask some really key questions. First of all, does your state Department of Ed recommend a specific certification or agency? And are the instructors licensed to teach that specific course? Or what do your, if there's certain things that your teachers need to do, make sure you're up to snuff on that. What are local employers looking for is also, of course, a key question. And is employment transferable? And then finally, what is the cost of a certification or a specific credential as well? And I know some of our other speakers are going to get into these types of things more in depth. But again, it's one of those things that you need to consider on the front end when you are putting together your career pathway. And think back to those 6 key elements of developing career pathways. Certifications and credentials are a part of the step for aligning policies and programs. So now we've talked a few broad things considering building any pathway program. So we're going to narrow our focus just a little bit, starting with any health science program. And I'm going to point you toward careertech.org. And this site houses a whole plethora of resources for any and all career pathways. And we know that there are lots of changes on the horizon. We're in the midst of that right now. But if you navigate to the health science portion of the website and you locate the career cluster information for health science, you're going to get an understanding of all the different pathways that fall within the cluster. And again, to be fair, it is in the midst of an update. There's some kind of a reveal that we expect in fall of 2024, but we know that the rollout for this is going to probably take several years. But in spite of all of that, we've been assured that they're going to keep archival information on the website. And but again, it's just a good place to go to get started in developing that health science pathway. Now, standards. We know that the consortium is the source for those national health science standards. And as you learn about the knowledge and skills desired for a program, look to these health science standards to see what you should be including in your content. The standards gives you a great, clean topical outline organized in some very key foundational strands, and they're listed here on the screen. So you've got everything from academic foundations, with the nat and phys and medical math and things like that. It weaves in some of those very important communication and soft skills like teamwork, ethics, and so forth. You get technical skills that you get, legal, ethical, technical, information technology. Everything is laid out in the standards very clearly. And it's just a very, very good source to go to. And again, you'll be hearing more about that from some of our other speakers today. So now we're going to get to the most specific level of resources, and that's actually the specific programs of study within health science. And in addition to the standards, you can go to things like certifications, assessments, even CTSO connections and national organizations to help you build out your program of study specifically. And we've got some more links and some information that we'd like to share on that. So here is just a wonderful list of organizations with all sorts of certifications and credentials. And we really like this list because there are many of our friends are also partners and members of the NCHSE. And we always like to shine a light on our partner organizations because of the great work that they're doing. So if you are looking to start a brand new program or even add some certifications, go to these links, go to the consortium partner list on certifications, and take a closer look and a deep dive into these, because when you get into the nitty-gritty, you'll be able to see the names of the certifications that match the pathway program you wish to develop, and you can see the types of skills and things that students need to know, and that will help guide the content that you can be planning for as you build out your pathway program. Now, there's also the National Health Science Assessment that the consortium offers as well. And we like to shine a light on that. It's not a right to work credential, but it really adds the credibility of a national certification of achievement. And this is something I think that others are going to speak to as well in other sections of our content today. But I just really think it's a great place to go on the front end when you're building out a new health science pathway program. Some of the benefits for your students on that, certainly it's a nationally recognized end of pathway certificate, and it validates those skills that your students have attained. And it's something tangible that they can take with them on a job interview and also put on their resume, recognition on college applications, and a whole lot more. So it's just a really, really wonderful thing that the consortium offers. And then, of course, you've got HSEA, which also sponsors dozens of knowledge and skill competitions at state and national levels, wide variety of health science topics. So if you're a HSEA member school, take advantage of all of those competition and events and look at the information that they are including that the students should know, because that's also a good driver of what you should be including in your program. Now, another excellent consortium resource is the 4-course framework. Again, you'll be learning more about this today, but as a first introduction, it serves as an example of various possibilities for secondary health science programs to help in the design of health science programs and also facilitate post-secondary credit opportunities in health science courses such as Introduction to Healthcare and Basic Human Anatomy and Physiology. And these courses can be delivered in order, in different orders, and independently, but each of them has a corresponding certificate assessment. So again, another really good tool that the consortium has. And NCHSE also provides a curriculum crosswalk, which is very helpful as you plan out the things in detail. It takes your foundational standards and allows you to be able to map them to your own curriculum and convert the topics. And These exercises also provide the transparency and accountability for the topics included. And it really, really can help everyone keep on the same page in that planning process and what's happening during curriculum planning. Now, this is one of my favorite visuals that the consortium offers because it shows recommended pathways. In the future, it's my understanding, they're going to be called subclusters, but it breaks down health science occupations into those larger buckets. And then many of those most popular programs in high schools, I think, tend to fall in the therapeutic services like CNAs, medical assistants, and so forth. But you can see the wide breadth that's available, and sharing a visual like this with your students is really helpful for them to see just the breadth. Look at all those titles and occupational areas that you could consider if this is something that's for you. It's more than just being a nurse or a doctor. There are many, many different ways that you can plug into your own personal interests. And then here is an editable plan of study document found at careertech.org on that website. And I think it's very helpful because it provides an example of how you might lay out a full program of study. And it includes things both post-secondary and secondary course information. And by having a master planning document like this, it ensures that all of the required components are covered in your program of study. And it also helps to keep objectives of each course very well defined. It's kind of a one-stop shop to help you visualize the entire program you're putting together. We've been assured that these documents will remain on the website in an archived fashion even after the clusters are updated. We know that they're also saying that they're going to be building out some new resources available in each of the cluster areas, and those are still yet to come. So this, if you wanted this today and in the near future, it still will be on that website at that link. And before I wrap up here today, I wanted to tell you that if you scan this QR code and you enter it and submit it, you will have access to about 15 to 20 different free health science career exploration lessons. So if you are trying to beef up a little bit more on your career exploration and some of that kind of thing, each of those lessons is a standalone lesson, so you can access those from this QR code. And if you also submit the QR code, we are going to be doing a drawing for a set of nursing soft skill scenario cards. And it's a card deck that has 19 different scenarios. Each of them focuses on a different soft skill in a nursing setting. And we are going to be doing that drawing early next week. And if your name is chosen, we will be getting a hold of you on the information that you've submitted. So we hope that you will all take advantage of that and enter to win. So my time has come to a close as we've kicked off our session here today. So again, any questions that you might have, please still do put in the chat area and we would be happy to answer them for you. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing so that we can turn it over to our next speaker. Thank you very much.
Okay, I hope you all could listen very fast because that is a fast talking woman. Okay.
Well, I got done with 1 minute to spare on our agenda, so.
We have to listen fast when she talks, but there was several questions about the PowerPoint, and we are recording this, and Denise has agreed to share her PowerPoint, so it will be posted along with the recording, so you'll have access to that. And then we do appreciate her shout out about the career specialty chart, about that being one of her favorite resources. We couldn't agree more how helpful that chart is when you're introducing students to all the opportunities in healthcare, and also parents and also career guidance counselors. And that's a free download on our website. And there was some question about the crosswalk, and I think it's going to be addressed, but that is a free download on our website as well. And then lastly, I think we put in the chat that HSEA has done a great job of crosswalking our national health science standards to the competitive events program. So if you're a local HSEA chapter advisor and you're thinking about how to reinforce some of the curriculum, you could use those competitive events to do that in your classroom. So any other questions for Melissa? I'm sorry for Denise, as she talked really fast, and but it is recorded. And when you listen to the recording, you can even slow it down so you can hear her. Great job, Denise. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to be quiet and turn it over to the next person. I believe it's Cindy.
Yes, Melissa?
Good morning, or actually, sorry, I'm in North Carolina. Good afternoon, everyone. Some of you, it may still be morning, but we are so excited that you are in attendance today, and we hope that you will get some information to help you get started and get excited about this new school year. I have the pleasure of introducing Cindy LeCoq. Cindy has been a classroom teacher for 24 years. Those experiences have been in the post-secondary and the community college levels. She has served as a health science program director and twice as an interim CTE director in Colorado. Cindy has also been a valuable member of the NCHSE since 2007. And we are very excited to have Cindy and her panel here today. So Cindy, you can take it away.
Well, good morning. It's good morning in Colorado, but good afternoon to most everyone else. Welcome. I am so excited to hold this very informal panel presentation. And the presentation is Thriving Health Science Programs, the Keys to Lasting Impact. I am so excited to see the number of participants in today's fall kickoff meeting, which speaks to each one of your dedication to your health science programs. So thank you for joining this panel presentation. And I'm going to piggyback on Denise's presentation. Health science, I'm very, very biased, of course, but we're the #1 career cluster. And we have one of the highest predicted job growth rates in the next 5 to 10 years combined, and really going on to 2030 when I'll be long gone. But so with this high growth rate predicted, we also have the graying of America. And so your role as health science educators cannot be overstated, how important you are. Most people think of the cure for cancer as in a Pfizer lab, where in reality, it's in the CTE classroom, where our future pioneering scientists currently sit. That's you. That's your influence. It is no secret that students who complete a career and technical education program and go on to college are much more successful than the traditional high school graduates. There are several reasons for this success. You always hear that mantra: rigor, relevance, and relationship. But really also the success is truly the CTE educator who brings all of this to the classroom. I cannot say enough about your importance. We have the well-being of the nation to develop our kids to be the best that they can be. So with all of today's challenges, from the shadows from the pandemic, the constant obstacle of education funding, and I'm not going to talk about funding again because it's always there, the burden of the ever-emerging technology and the constant need to power up, how do we deliver outstanding and thriving health science programs? So for the next 50 minutes, the panel will address 3 of the 12 high-quality CTE program indicators that are defined by the Carl Perkins 5 Act and described in great detail by the ACTE High-Quality Program Framework, and how these indicators were part of the panel's successful programs. The 3 indicators we're going to focus on are the standards-aligned curriculum, student assessments, and data and program improvement, which are foundational to all health science programs, no matter what the health science program looks like. It could be a 1-semester healthcare specialty or a 2-year intensive health science program. When I was looking at the chat, I saw such a variety of responses as what your health science programs are. And so this presentation applies to all of you. And at the end of the 50 minutes, we'll have approximately 10 minutes to do any Q&A. So before my introduction of this panel of health science experts, few housekeeping items. In the Zoom chat, you will find links to 2 important resources for today's panel. The first resource is the ACTE Quality CTE Program of Study Framework that mirrors the Carl Perkins 5 high-quality program indicators that each of your states must report on to receive federal funding. So sometimes down at the educator level, you're not made aware of the whole being of Carl Perkins 5 and how the state relies on you meeting indicators in order for them to receive that federal funding. The second link is for the National Health Science Standards that were already, actually it was already posted. And these health science standards, they've been around since 1992. They were previously spoken to in Denise's presentation, but we will revisit them in detail. And then lastly, I want to remind you during the panel discussion to add your questions to the chat because we want to make sure that we are clear and precise. So now what we've been waiting for, I'm honored to present the panel of health science educators that have a combined total of 50 years in the classroom. Lisa Bartle has a very diverse nursing background from pediatric cardiology to orthopedics to women's health, to name a few. She has over 24 years of teaching experience in 3 different states. Woo! She's president of HSEA and has been a HOSA advisor for over 23 years. Lisa is a strong proponent of the National Health Science Standards and the use of data for program improvement, which I just love. Anything with data, everybody knows I love. I also would like to introduce Jenny King. So wave when I introduce you. So Jenny King is a master level nurse with 7 years at interventional radiology, nurse before moving into the realm of education. Jenny battled why she was giving up a hard-earned career for an occupation she knew nothing about. This is her quote. After she worked through many regrets, frustrations, and self-doubt, Jenny enacted a plan that her students would become her patients and her care plans would turn into lesson plans. She is based in Mississippi and was a state participant in the new 4 stackable health science certificate beta testing. Very, very important. And lastly, Sandra Martin, who holds a education specialist degree with a background in dental hygiene before choosing education as her passion. So wave for me, Sandra. After 24 years in the classroom, 10 of which were in health science, Sandra is now the Georgia Specialist for Healthcare, Law, and Public Safety and Personal Care Services, and brings this added experience to the panel discussion. Sandra is the recipient of numerous awards, such as the Georgia Healthcare Science and Technology Educators Association Healthcare Teacher of the Year, and she currently serves on a strategic planning group for Georgia's CTAE Teacher Retention and Recruitment Initiative. And I can't say enough about teacher recruitment and retention. So let's go ahead and begin. And first, before we start with the first issue, ladies, could each of you take a brief minute to describe your health science programs, beginning with Sandra?
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here with you on this Saturday. And I had the pleasure of being in the classroom for 24 years, and those last 10 years were with the healthcare science program. I know what it feels like to have had my career with patients, and I love the phrase that she used with writing those lesson plans as the kind of like the case study and plan for the patients. I love that because sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but I would always get something confused and say my patients, but I meant students. I love being in the classroom. I even love more being with all of our teachers across Georgia, helping them be strong and great resources for their students.
Okay, Lisa, and this is going to be an informal panel discussion, so jump in, Lisa, and then.
Okay. All right, so currently I teach in Pinellas County Schools. I have been here twice. So I started in 2000 and was here till 2008. And at that time I was in a comprehensive high school, and we have medical magnet programs within our county. So I'm back in our county again at a different high school. It also is a medical magnet, which means that it's a 4-year program. So our students start as 9th graders. They take health care foundations, they take medical anatomy and physiology, allied health, and then industry recognized certification course as their final course. We also have we do our biomed program through Project Lead the Way, and we also have personal training and wellness program. So we have about 500 students in our program in general, and before, when I left Florida the first time, I went to Colorado and was in a technical high school. So the students came from the 5 high schools in our county to our school for a double block class and then would go back to their high school. I've also been in Texas, and that was also in a comprehensive high school as well. So I've kind of seen it from both sides of the spectrum, which I think gives me a little bit of value in what relating to all of you guys, because I understand all the challenges of where we're coming from. I currently have 50-minute classes. So I do 6 50-minute classes a day. So not much time to get all the things that we need done.
And Jenny.
Hey guys, I'm Jenny King. This is my 14th year in the classroom. For the first 10 years, I was in, I call it the big school, the big high school. In the past 3 years, I've moved over to the vocational center. While I was at the big school, I taught year 1 and year 2 of health science. And since I've moved, I'm only doing year 2, and we've added a year 3 component. My year 3 students, who are seniors, begin with medical assisting, follow that with phlebotomy, and finish up with CNA. So they graduate high school with possibly 3 certifications if they complete all 3 classes. I still call my students my patients. I get them confused after 14 years, and they just giggle. They think it's funny.
All righty, well, thank you. So today we're going to open up the panel discussion, prefacing first with what is referred to as the CTE conundrum, which is the perception that while CTE is no longer your mother's vocational education programs, it's been characterized as only having islands of excellence where innovation exists in isolation. And what this was made by Arnie Duncan years ago when he was the U.S. education specialist, is this comment speaks to the lack of consistency and quality across all CTE programs, but we're going to just direct it to the CTE health science programs. And the answer to that is by laying a strong foundation built on common standards. And specifically, we're going to refer to the National Health Science Standards. And these standards allow clear direction of what students need to know and what teachers need to teach. I always say it's like a course content outline. It gives you everything, a guide to follow. And Nancy or Shelley has put this up on the screen. It's just a perfect framework to base your curriculum and your assessments. So we're going to start first with the question that focuses on standards aligned curriculum. And so I'm going to pick on Jenny first. And Jenny, I would like you to please share why you chose to use the National Health Science Standards and how you incorporate them into your health science curriculum.
Our state, I'm from Mississippi, and we used to use the CPAS at the very end of the school year to test our students. We then moved to the NCHSE test, and now the state as a whole has moved away from it. But I found this test to be very, very beneficial. 1, holding me accountable for what I'm doing in the classroom, and 2, holding the students accountable for their performance in the classroom. That is my #1 reason for continuing to use the test. I get no benefit from it as far as the state goes anymore. We used to get our, I guess through the Perkins, we would get funding per however many students pass the exam at the end. But I kept it. I think it holds me accountable. It gives me a purpose. It gives me accountability. It is my why I'm doing what I'm doing. And if we don't have a why, if we don't have a purpose or a passion for what we're doing, why do we do it every day? Why do we show up for these kids? And how can we hold them accountable in real life if I'm not holding them accountable in the classroom?
Thank you,
That's why I
Jenny.
choose it.
I mean, and it's not an easy thing. Again, so I'm going to turn the same question next to Lissa, and not only about why you chose the National Health Science Standards, but what do you see the top benefits of this alignment? What tools do you use to integrate the standards into your curriculum?
How much time do we have?
Oh,
I could
forgot to
talk
put my
forever
time.
about this. So back in, as I said before, I was in Florida and we had the curriculum framework.
Liz, are you there? Okay, we might have lost Lissa, so I'll switch over to Sandra. Sandra, could you answer, okay, about how you, why you chose to use the National Health Science Standards when you were in the classroom?
Absolutely. So as a healthcare teacher, I found this list of standards my go-to. My students did very well if I designed my activities, tests, anything I did in the classroom, if I would go back to these standards and incorporate them in my lesson plans, I felt like my students had a rock to stand on. The wealth of information on here, and we could all agree, it's all applicable. It doesn't matter what state you're in. This is the true go-to. I actually even divided this up with my students in activities and had them do presentations. The students loved it. And in fact, when we gave our National Consortium exam at the end of the year I had 100% pass rate is when my students divided these standards up. They took their favorites and they presented activities and games. It was just unbelievable what my students could do, just handing them this list of standards and develop a little activity for the class. They just loved it. And it all was applicable to not only the exam, but prepping them for the careers that they had chosen later on. And can I mention, as a program specialist for the state of Georgia, I actually contacted Nancy to make sure, we're all leery of making sure we abide by the copyright law. And I asked her, Nancy, can I use these standards to align our intro to healthcare course? We had to adopt a new revised relevant list of standards for our introductory class. And we use these standards. We also did a poll with things that our local business and industry partners needed, and we added that to this list. It was an incredible foundation. I feel like we have some of the strongest standards because we align to these national standards.
Well, thank you, Sandra, because one thing that you mentioned is, and you didn't mention it in your written comments to me, is the fact that business and industry valued those standards, and that was part of your partnership and your communication, because standards provide that communication possibility with business and industry, so that they know, the employers know how well the students are prepared. And when I was asking before we lost Lissa, she did say there was going to be some storms, so I'm hoping that
she's back. She's back. I just let her in. Yeah.
Okay, so Lissa, once you're back, I don't see you yet, but as you come on, I would like Lissa to talk about the tools that she used in integrating the health science standards into their curriculum.
I'm back. So I had a feeling that was going to happen. We have the first wave of a little tropical depression coming through my area, and the wind is blowing and it's raining, and I was like, oh no, something bad is going to happen, and lo and behold, it did. So am I picking up where we left off?
Oh, and so you missed pretty much you're picking up, but I really like you to concentrate on why you chose the National Health Science Standards, but really more so on what tools that you used to help integrate the health science standards into your curriculum.
Okay, so why did I choose the standard? So it was back in 2009-ish when I was in Colorado and had come from Florida, and Colorado is a locally controlled state, so everybody kind of gets to do their own thing. And was I had an idea of what to do because I had been in Florida, but it wasn't great. There were still lots of questions, and you know, everybody was just like, well, we do it this way, we do it that way. So like, okay, this isn't going to help. So we had a meeting. Cindy was our state supervisor at the time, and we had one of our preschool meetings, and she came in with a flash of CD, I think it was, a CD, and she handed everybody a CD, and she said, here, this will help. Okay, put it in my bag, didn't do anything about it. The next year, another teacher came in, and she had like 4 big, huge 4-inch binders. And we were like, oh, what's all that? She said, you know, that CD Cindy gave us, this is what it is in print. And it was like, wow. And so she showed it to us, and it was the standards, and it was everything that we needed to have. There were lesson plans, there was outlines, there were quizzes. It was everything that we needed. And it was just like, oh, okay. So now we finally have a framework to follow that we all can follow, because we know that kids are transient and they go from one school to another. And so we needed to have that accountability for that as well. So I've kept up with that all along, because once you get in and you see the standards and you really take them, I know they've been posted, but you really have a chance to look at them, you'll see that, hey, this is all the stuff I'm already teaching, and it's laid out in a much better format. It's easy to understand, and through the enhancements that are available, you can get all the curriculum that goes along with it. So there's, you know, for you all teachers that are new, this is the place to start, is with these. So the tools that I use to help with the standards, I mean, we do a lot of different activities, but mainly we supplement with you know, other things like career safe. When we're talking about safety, then we can supplement with career safe and get their OSHA certification. When we're talking about our employability skills, then we can look at the other websites like Denise had talked about, using that career project, and using uScience career pathways, their Brightways plan or program. And there's just so many tools that are out there that are available, and also just through each other, through collaborating with each other. That's really where you get a lot of it. It's like, hey, you know, my students tested off on health maintenance practices, and they didn't do a very good job. I see that your scores are really high in health maintenance practices. How did you do that? Help me understand how I can do better. So it's that collaboration piece with all of us that you'll find on the Facebook page too, that really helps us to, you know, drive what we're doing. There's so much that I don't have time to talk about all that.
Well, and thank you. Thank all of you. And Lisa said, it can be overwhelming. And at the same time, when we talk about the tools that you use in the classroom, is you are part of a team. If you're a member of HSEA, if you're a member of NCHSE, I was just bowled over by one time somebody mentioned, well, crosswalk. You can just put in a question to your membership and say, hey, can somebody share your crosswalk and how you used it? And you will get immediate replies. And it's like, there's nothing original. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Everybody shares. And that's what Lisa is referring to. So
that crosswalk tool, I'm sorry, that crosswalk tool is really helpful. So
yes.
To really just so that you can see with your state standards how, you know, when you put them out there and you crosswalk them to what NCHSE has, that they're the same. They might not be in the same order, but they're the same.
And that's the reply I got from each one of you when you were answering the questions, is that these standards are the same. and that the crosswalking wasn't nearly as difficult once you get started. So we're going to go ahead and transition to the next indicator of a high quality program, and that's student assessments. Student assessments are very, very important. You cannot manage what you can't measure. And the only way you know if the students have gotten all of that knowledge of health science is to have a very good assessment. So assessments, they validate the learning, they communicate to others that the student has had some mastery in this subject. And you have to make sure when you look at the Carl Perkins that any assessment you use must be aligned to the standards. And so I'm going to speak mostly to the NCHSE certificates, because these are the assessments that revolve around the 11 standards. So with the first question, while we still have Lisa before we lose her.
I think I'm good now. We are no lull.
Okay. What assessments do you use in the classroom? And how do you use them for classroom instruction?
Okay, so prior to last year in our county, we had end of course exams were written by the teachers and our county lead people. So I was talking to a couple of my coworkers who they predominantly taught the 9th and 10th grade class, the foundations and the medical anatomy and physiology. And, that we had good data from the EOCs, but not enough where we could actually do some comparisons between us and other people around the country. And I'm a highly, highly, highly competitive person, which is probably why Cindy and I kind of bond, because she's that way too. But it's like, no, we need to be able to see how we're doing and how our students are doing compared to each other, compared to people in other counties, compared to people in the nation. So we took it upon ourselves to do the crosswalk, get permission from our administration, both at our school level and our county level, to pilot using the uScience for certifications, or the 4 certifications that they have. So that is our foundations in essential healthcare practices, and then the human structure, function, and disease courses. And then culminating that is their National Health Science Certificate. And that's where I first learned about all of this, is because in Colorado, when I was there, we did the certificate every year. It was paid for, thankfully, by Colorado. So, but it was just unbelievable, the data that we could get. And I was never a data person. Math, nope. But when it came to this, and I could see how I rated next to my coworkers, next to, against the people in other parts of the state, and then how we did nationally. And it was like, oh, this is so cool, because, you're seeing success, you're seeing your students' success, and they're seeing their own success, which is really what helps drive that whole thing. So really, that's where we are now. We are piloting in our 2nd year of our pilot. We are adding this year the medical anatomy to end of course exams. And we will continue with the National Health Science Certificate and just continue to have good data. And hopefully we can spread this throughout Florida so we can really get some good, comparisons going.
Okay, and so, you went away from that screen. Whoever's managing it is doing an awesome job, because I am going to next call on Jenny King. And you were showing whoever's on this doing the screen, the test blueprint. If you could put that back up. Jenny was part of Mississippi. Mississippi as a state adopted a pilot program where all the health science program tested and were able to test for free. And one thing I wanted to say, you know, all of this can be so overwhelming, particularly when you are a new teacher. And you say, oh, there's 11 standards, as you can see here. How am I going to cover all the 11 standards in my program? If you're a one semester program, that's almost an impossibility. And so when Denise had put up the circles of the 4 course framework, we have 4 stackable certificates that match that framework, that breaks down these standards so that they're more manageable. So Jenny, could you speak to the use of assessments and what you found to be beneficial?
Those standards align very, very closely to the curriculum that MDE provided for us. So it was not hard at all to incorporate the NCHSE standards into the classroom. We have a 2-year program, so you start in year 1. I would say 70% of the information is taught in year 1, and then the other 30% is taught in year 2. So you know, what's left in your curriculum after you decide to test your students, you can tie in that material, you know, towards April or May. So the students are still getting everything state says that they need to know before they finish the course. But I didn't think it was very difficult at all to incorporate everything, as long as you have the 2-year, as long as you have the students for 2 years.
Okay. And so, so the assessments, again, I have to stress how they cover all 11 standards. You will see a breakdown per the 4 stackable framework, the exact standards that are just covered in each one of those 4 courses if you have a smaller time frame. And it's not necessary that you hit every standard. I know you feel incredible pressure as educators to try and cover everything. You can't be the end all be all is all I can say. So thinking about the assessments in the back of your mind, we're going to transition to data and program evaluation and improvement. And again, one of the very, very important pieces that your states have to report on to receive their funding. So, and so I'm going to pick on Sandra because she's in an administrative role, being the state lead for health science. So Sandra, could you speak to why or how you could use certificate data as far as program improvement and evaluation?
Absolutely. So one of the things as an educator, I watched my scores and it divided it up. When the student data came back, I could see their weak areas. I could see their strong areas. So when I would work hard figuring out how I would assess, how would I would practice, how would I engage the students, a lot of times I would go back and see where were they most likely weak. And I would spend more time in the classroom with that. And at the state level, I can encourage our teachers to do that. Look at your data. I'm like Cindy, that data is really important because it can drive that instruction. So if you have an area that those students are acing, don't skip it, do it, but spend more time on those areas that there is a deficient score. And I have to say this too, with this data, it not only helps you as an instructor, but it reinforces to the students, hey, I thought I knew that, but now I don't, and now I need to listen more. Because, you know, sometimes they come in and they think they've got it all figured out, but when they see those scores and you can sit down, and that's what I would do as an educator, I would have them look at their scores and look and see, oh, I need to spend more time on this. But as an educator, you need to plan out starting with the first course, then the second course, and then the third course, looking at that crosswalk, so to speak, if you do that with your course and you look at those standards. And that way you know where to emphasize certain activities. to cover those standards. It is like a program of standards. It's not just one course fits all. I would use those standards in every course you teach and keep assessing. I would do even little quizzes, like if you do get a chance to purchase the enhancements and some of the HSEA membership activities, use those as benchmarks to guide your instruction and keep referring back to those standards and any alignment you have with your state standards. I just feel like that's so important because you want to improve where you're seeing your students not do well. Cindy, I hope I answered that question okay.
Oh, you nailed it. Thank you. You nailed it because, my question to all of you, and since Sandra just went to listen, and Jenny, is do you review your health science programs for improvement and evaluation on a routine basis? Some states do require you to report out what steps you've taken to show that you have reviewed your program and ways to improve it. But I only have that Colorado perspective. So can you, either of you, answer that? Is that required of your states to show that you review your program for improvement?
Yes, for us, yes. We meet with our advisory board 4 times a year. Seems like more than that, it might even be. And now the exciting thing about that is now we will be able to share with them the data that we are getting from the certificates that the students are getting. So I'm not really sure what happens at the higher level beyond the school itself, but I'm sure there is a lot of, especially here in Florida, there is a lot of collection of data. So because our funding comes through a thing called CAPE funds, so we have to be approved through the CAPE funds where the students are getting certifications, et cetera, et cetera. And then also they use those certifications as drivers for our school grade. So more certifications that we can offer to a variety of students, the better it is for our overall school grade. So there's a lot of things that really go into play in all of that, in using the data, you know, just beyond the classroom.
Before, when we were required to give the exam, yes, we did review the data with my director, and then of course he turned it over to MDE. But now that it's not required anymore and the state has gone towards something else to measure mastery at the end of year 2, only he and I, go over the data, and I kind of score myself. Where do I need to do better? What do I need to focus on more? How can I get the kids to understand the material better? Who can I bring in that maybe knows the material a little better than me, who might can explain it better. But that's just something between he and I now that, I choose to want to be better for them if an area is not high enough, in my opinion.
Right. Let me piggyback on that for just a second. So we all have to create a professional development plan, and we all get evaluated. And so using the data, you can just easily put that into your professional development plan as to, here, I know that like the students that I get this year, the 10th graders from last year, here were their scores on their end of course assessments. So here's what I plan to do to get them to be even higher scores on the National Health Science Certificate. And so that then goes back as a reflection on, did I do that or did I not on my evaluation? And so that's just another piece of that we can use to help ourselves get better evaluations, make more money, et cetera, et cetera.
And that speaks directly to one of the criteria of Carl Perkins, and that's accountability. And when I said at the beginning of this panel presentation, how all of you that are listening in and participating in this kickoff meeting have already demonstrated that accountability and that desire to offer high quality programs and to produce successful students. So this again then transitions. We're going to take this last conversation with the data, and I am all about data. I love it because it is a decision maker. So let's transition this thought process about the data to the partnerships. So Lissa and Jenny both described how they use, and Sandra, how they use the data for program improvement. But you can use that data in even further ways, and that's sharing it with your partners. That's your advisory committees, that's your business and industry, et cetera. So I'd like the three of you to talk about your reaching out to form partnerships, because we all know, being on the secondary level, we're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to that work-based learning situation where you're trying to get clinical sites to have your students, have their work-based learning experiences. So my question is, how do you share, or do you share your assessment certificate data with your advisory committee and your administrators? And if so, what also other data do you share with these agencies? And anyone can go ahead, and we're just being informal. Just take it away.
So we are all about tooting our horns and making each other look good. So we are the first ones to let our administration know the great things that, not that we're doing necessarily, but the success that our students are having on their certificates, their industry certifications, etc. And then, as I said before, letting our advisory board know that, and then that will carry over to this year, showing our parents group how their children are being successful, because a lot of times they get, they bring their report card home and maybe the parent sees it or they don't see it, but they oftentimes really don't understand really what the students are learning. So that's one thing that I hope to do this year, is to really work with parents to show them what the kids are learning, and how successful they are doing or being at what they are learning. So that a lot of times I think in our programs, parents think that, oh, my kid's in a magnet program, or my kid's in a medical program, and they're going to be a doctor, or they're going to be a nurse, or a dentist, or a vet, or whatever. And it's just going to help us to have better conversations with the parents, like, yeah, maybe their goal is to be a doctor. Maybe they're not ready to do that. Here's where some areas that they could improve upon. So it goes back to that whole continuous improvement thing. And, it gives you some concrete material to talk about.
I also think it's, like you said, tooting your horn. When you toot your horn, I think it's free recruitment for your program as well. The more publicity you have, the more you show what your kids are doing, all the fun things, more kids are going to want to be part of your program. More parents are going to push their kids to be a part of your program. They may never have thought about being in the healthcare field, but a parent can see what's going on and suggest to the kid, hey, why don't you give this a try? So, I mean, I think for recruitment as well, sharing it with the community, not just your advisory committee, sharing it with the community, sharing it with the local hospital systems. And it's recruitment for them as well. They're going to start targeting these students for employment. They see them being successful and all the good things they're doing in class as high school students. They're going to start following them and recruiting them once they graduate a program.
Absolutely.
And when I was in the classroom, one of the exciting times would be every CTAE teacher would put out their pass rate out outside their classroom door. It let the kids know when you had really high scores, they were walking into a door that opened up a lot of opportunity of learning and success. We would also be recognized, I think, by like different clusters in CTA, and we're CTAE in Georgia because we incorporate ag into our CTE. So I think we're the only ones that are CTAE. But anyway, at the local or county district school Board of Education meeting monthly, CTSOs, and I believe those that passed their EOPAs, they were recognized. One of the exciting things at our school is the students worked really hard because at graduation, they got an asterisk for every credential and into the pathway exam that they completed and passed. And so it's kind of like that honor student. You know, sometimes our CTAE students or CTE students are not on that honor roll, but they worked so hard and they've completed our pathway. And I know in Georgia, we have 97, I believe it's 97.8% graduation rate in our CTAE students. It's a lot higher than our state and district graduation rates. So those students take pride in those assessments when they pass them. Yes, I've seen tears when they did not pass them, and we have remediation opportunities. As a teacher, anyway, I can't speak for the entire state, but in different districts, we would have remediation moments. The students would get to retest and do better, and it helped them get to earn that graduation cord. That is just one of the things that just really inspired the students to do well, and it kept the teachers more accountable because they didn't want to have a student not pass that exam. And then I sat in recently a hiring webinar. Well, actually, it was in person. It was at a conference, and it was someone from a hospital. And someone raised their hand and asked, would they recognize any of these credentials? They said, you tell your students to put down any credential they have earned, because that sets them apart from other students that are maybe applying in a healthcare position. So a lot of good things that can come out of that.
Well, and boy, excellent conversation. And all of you mentioned and answered my question. Well, what other data do you share with your advisory committee? Sandra just mentioned the pass rates. Any type of data that you want to gather, there's nothing more powerful on advisory committee than if you have students evaluate the program and put that data together with the number of students that would recommend it to fellow students and who found that the experience was good. Also evaluate any of your clinical sites on the students. All the data that you can gather just gives you more confidence about your program. Your program becomes an easier sell because you have this information at your fingertips. That is, to me, I've been wowed by everything that you all have been saying. So it's amazing how you can think about all these things that you're already doing. It's not that you're doing something new. You're already doing it. It's how you incorporate it and advertising it. And then Jenny was saying how, hey, word of mouth, the students start talking to each other, and then all other students want to come be part of the program. It was the example of having the special designations on graduation. There's so many things you can do that are not a lot of work. So as we start wrapping up today's panel, I'm going to close it with just a wrap-up question of the three, and then we'll get to the question and answer section. Actually, maybe we should we go ahead and do the question and answers now, since it's
let's do. And
let's 12:15.
I don't mind reading one. I think it's Molly. She has several questions within one, and so she says that these resources are new to her, so she's sorry if these questions are obvious. And she said, are the NCHSE certificate exams based on the NCHSE curriculum specifically?
Yes. Yes, they are.
There are no trick questions on there.
No
They're all
trick
based on the
questions at
National
all.
Health Science Standards. Yeah.
Right. So if you follow those standards, your students will be successful in all 5 of the end of course tests, and if you interject things that are extra, then that's just extra things for the students to know. But as long as you are actually teaching from those standards, your students should and will be successful on the exams.
And I think it's important to say that the standards are not a course. They are used to align your curriculum. So we aren't telling you what to teach on what day, in what course, and what to title the courses. We just want states to use those standards when they're designing their curriculum, when they're designing their courses or their assessments. And so that's why we have the crosswalk document, so that you can, the courses that you teach, because it varies all across the nation, that you will see that they are aligned to these industry recognized standards that we've put out to healthcare to say, is this what a student needs to know and be able to do when they complete a health science education program? So her next question for the panel is, if someone were to teach the same standards with a different curriculum, would they be at a disadvantage? And I think we sort of answered that, but did anybody want to add anything to that? She's saying a different curriculum. Well, as long as your curriculum was aligned to the standards and that you covered. And I think that if you do a crosswalk, you'll be surprised, even though those 13 pages seem a little overwhelming, they're very detailed about what healthcare industry believes that students need to know. And so you'll be surprised that you actually, in fact, you'll probably be pleasantly surprised that you do teach most of that. Okay, the next question is, are the exams all multiple choice?
I'm going to go ahead and jump in on that one, because it's a very good, rigorous exam. And if you look at a lot of the certifications that are, the smaller certification, they are on a 6th grade level. This is a much higher academic level exam, but they use a diverse type of questions. Multiple choice make up probably the number of the questions, but there is drag and drop, there is matching. It's every kind of test question available is part of this exam.
And there's some scenario-based questions. And one other advantage, I think, to using this certificate program is it prepares your students to take exams on the computer, because we know as they leave us and move through a health science major and on to a career specialty registration certification, then they're going to probably be taking a computer-based exam to achieve that. Okay, next
Nancy,
question.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, don't be sorry. You go ahead.
I was going to kind of touch on what you just said. So the thing I like about the questions that are on the exam is there's some that are not black and white. They're gray. So the answers, there could be a couple of right answers, but the student has to pick the best right answer. And that's kind of like how NCLEX is. So all your answers could be right, but what are you going to do first? And what are you going to do the safest? And to me, that helps, back to the testing, that helps the student prepare how they're going to test when they get into their professional programs in college. I really like that, because they're not just regurgitating information. They have to understand it and they have to process it in order to be successful.
Right.
Yeah, and Cindy might speak to really how this is a very detailed and intricate way that we develop test items. And so we look at, Cindy, you want to do the validity and
Well, and we do every 2 to 3 years, we gather with uScience and validate every single test question and how students perform and how the distractors of the question, are they appropriate? It's a very high quality product. And we review how they perform. And when we relook at it and we see the performance, it's just like, oh, because we are so knowledgeable. I mean, we are the experts. That it's like, that's an easy question. And then when we look at it and how the students respond to it, it's like, I can see how that could be challenging or not correct. So I cannot say enough about the validity of these exams and how they are reviewed for performance on a regular basis.
And then the next question was, can you speak to how well the exams were able to test hands-on skills, for example, verbal communication and taking vital signs?
Again, I think that's case scenario type of questions. As best as you can do it in a written form, and that we are looking at the possibilities of offering more competency-based performance type of certifications to add on to what certificates we already have in place. Ladies, is there anything you want to add to that question?
No, just to go back, I see Karen had posted it in the chat. I was going to say this too, but to take the mystique out of it for you, if you come to the conference, you can take some of these tests and see what they're like. Or next year, if you're at HSEA ILC, the uScience has a certificate lab, then you can go take the tests so you too can see what they're like. So, and that's a great way to just get an understanding of what the kids are going to see.
In
Hey,
the,
Go ahead,
in the
Jamie.
chat box, someone just asked if there was a review that they can do with their students before they take the exam. Can I just kind of tell you what I do with my kids real quick? So I plan out my whole year with my test date. So I go backwards and how I'm going to fit my curriculum in to the test date. And then about 5 weeks before we take our test, I start review, because you have to go back to year one material. So every day for 5 weeks, I call it our kumbaya. We sit, we review, we ask questions, we go back and look over a test. But I have this, I make a booklet for the kids. They have a schedule in there so they know every single day what we're going to cover. I go back over all the assessments that are in the standard. At the end of each standard, there's assessments. We go over those questions and I make sure the kids understand. So I take 5 weeks before that test and we go back over everything, not in great detail, but enough detail that they're is triggering their memory.
Can
So
I
I don't know if that answers her question, but
Yes.
And can I add to Jenny real quick that one thing I found helpful is, you know how you have bell ringers when the students come in and you're waiting for them to come in, you can get them already started on something. I would create a PowerPoint and have a question of the day that was related to those standards, to that, you know, that exam prep, just to get their mind constantly focused on those key factors. I found that I wish I had done that a long time ago, but I did it towards the end before I had left that position. So just a little tidbit idea for a bell ringer.
Nice. And that's exactly why we're having this session, is to give these little touches to what works in the classroom. And those bell ringers are awesome. So thank you, Sandra. Any other questions, Nancy, as we
Well,
wrap?
we also could mention about, and I put it in the chat, that there's a practice test
Mhm.
on the website with 30 sample questions, right? 30, I believe.
Yes, 30.
Yeah. And then there was questions about the pricing. And so if your state is a state agency, is a member of NCHSE, then it's $15 per student. If your state is not, it's $20 per student. But we don't want to punish you if your state is one of the 14 states who don't realize what they're missing. And so if you're a member of NCHSE, I'm sorry, if you're a member of the teacher organization, HSEA, you could get that $5 discount for your student on the end of program. And Cindy, do you know the pricing on the 4 stackables?
That they were $10 each.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, I cannot, if you compare the price of these certificates with the other certificates that are out there, there are more than 600, I think, in health science alone. The price is excellent and much lower. I cannot stress the value of this test. And the other value is a lot of these certificates do not share back information on student performance. So you do not get that classroom instruction help with your students engaging in these certificates. Again, I'm a data guru, but as teaching on the post-secondary side in radiology technology, you have to take a national certification, and they do not release, because of privacy, they cannot release student performance. And so I would get permissions from my students for them to release that data to me on the post-secondary level. But it's an excellent, these are excellent certificates. They are aligned to the standards and they inform the classroom instruction. And to me, that's irreplaceable. You cannot put a money piece on it. So on behalf of the panel presenters, thank you so much, panel. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us today. And I know that there are more questions and that we will address them as best we can as we continue with this kickoff meeting. I'll send it back to you, Lissa.
All righty. So it is now time for a break. So we are going to break from now until 2:40, or come back a little bit before that. If you don't go anywhere, we have a couple other things just to give you some information about. But if you need to step away for a bit and refresh your drink or your popcorn or go to the restroom or whatever, we've got 13 minutes to do that. So we'll see you back at 2:40.
Yeah, so let's not do anything for at least the first 5 minutes.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So so it's another great way for, you know, your administrators to see all that you're doing for health sciences, and you know, you're going there to represent your school, your district, your state. So you know, it's a win-win for all. So on the NCHSE website, you will see that we do have the request to attend letter. This is a fill in the blank. So all you need to do is fix the yellow highlighted areas and fill in your airfare and cost, et cetera, and submit that to your administrator so they see some what it is that you want to go to. And you can just use some of the information that we've talked about today, how informative it will be, and to make you a better teacher and to make your students better students, and just overall improve on everything that we're doing. And we have fun too. It's not just going from workshop to workshop. We eat lots of really good food. We have a fun activity scheduled for an evening at the Chicken and Pickle. So you pickleball players, you're taking Nancy on, actually, or her husband, if he's there. You're going to take them on, and we will crown a pickleball champion, and the rest of us can stand around and watch and cheer you all on. So it's a great time. We hope everybody can see it in their future. If not, it is about the same time every year. So next year we will be in Cincinnati. So put that on your radar to put that in there. And I know some people have some issue with funding, and they say, well, how can I afford to go? So Nancy's got some tidbits for you on that.
Oh, I do? Okay.
You do.
Well, Melissa did say that we are still accepting workshop proposals, and all primary presenters do get $100 off. And we really like this letter to request, because sometimes we know it takes courage to ask your administration for funding, but what an investment in you. And maybe you volunteer to come back and do presentations for your other health science teachers, maybe in your district, or you volunteer to make your school look great and do presentations at a summer conference of things that you learn while you're here at the conference. And just don't be afraid to ask. And especially if you're a first-year teacher, I mean, they don't want to tell you no because they want you to stay. And so now may be the time to ask, like, I really need this network of people. I really need to hear what the best practices are across the nation. And so that's why we did make an effort this year to go ahead and put up. So far, we have approved almost 60 breakout sessions, and they're here. So if you wanted to, connect some of these to your administration and say, I really need to go hear this. So, feel free to reach out if you, I wish that I could say we had scholarship and funding for all of you, but unfortunately, as a small nonprofit education organization, we can't do that. But we do hear teachers say, this is the best conference I've ever been to because it's 100% health science. And we all go to CTE conferences that cover all career cluster areas, but this is 100% focused on middle school, high school, and some post-secondary health science education. So with that, I think, Melissa, you had something to
Well, before I start talking, while you're still there, at the NCHSE conference last year, uScience gave us the opportunity to experience the National Health Science and of course exam and a whole lot of their other exams. They have a whole exam or test room set up where you can take any of their exams and kind of see how the students do. That's kind of the only time that we get to see the exams. And I ran to the kitchen during the break and I pulled out my first place medal because taking that National Health Science exam at our national conference last year, I placed first place. So they gave me a medal for getting first place. So somebody's going to have to take it away from me this year in Glendale. So it's a challenge to everybody out there to steal my medal.
Hey, listen, if you don't think you're good, nobody else will, right? Congratulations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I get to talk about is we do Wednesday webinars, and normally every month, starting in September, there will be 1 or 2 Wednesday webinars each month. Those webinars take an hour or last an hour, and you get 1 hour of professional development for those Wednesday webinars. So the first one, grab your calendars. The first Wednesday webinar will be on September 11th, starting at 4 p.m. The topics we have so far for the fall webinars are smiles in the classroom, hands-on activities to inspire our future dentists, exploring counseling and mental health careers, and color through health science. I know those are the topics, so we'll have, as we get the topics posted, and they will be posted, the all fall answering webinars will be posted the 3rd week of August, which Nancy's showing you now on the website where they will be posted. What's posted there right now are past webinars, so it won't help a whole lot to look yet, but that 3rd week of August, the new ones will be there, and we will have a huge variety of topics available to get you that 1 hour of continuing education, which we all need in order to renew our teaching license.
And we do record all the webinars and archive them on the website, and we have them categorized by large topics. So if you are looking for something or you missed one and you want to go back and hear it, we aren't able to provide professional development for those that you watch that you aren't able to attend live, but we do keep this up and updated. So there's an opportunity for you to learn there.
Yep. And I was going to say, Nancy, if you'll show, I know it's the spring webinars, but if you'll show that picture so they can see kind of where it will give you a kind of synopsis of what the topic's going to be and a registration link so that you can register right from this page. And this page will be updated on the NCHSE website. In the chat, we have topics will be awesome. I'm excited about that too. The webinars are 4 p.m. Eastern time. So that is currently the start time. So I know our Western US friends will have a little bit harder of a time being there in person. But please communicate that with us if there are webinars that you are really interested in, but the timing is bad for you, so that a lot of our officers are East Coast officers. So I don't want to say we don't think about the West Coast, but we're not getting the feedback that 4 o'clock is a bad time. So that's where we keep it. And so Richard, you were asking specifically about North Carolina DPI. And yes, Melissa Leeds and North Carolina DPI is very supportive of the NCHSE. And that's mine. Now I think we need to turn it back over to Condra, who will be introducing our next speaker.
Yes, I am very excited. I have the pleasure of introducing Miss Deanna Ingram. Deanna serves as a curriculum specialist for the University of Nebraska Medical Center program, uBEATS. And in her current role, Deanna says that she's very fortunate to work with teachers, subject matter experts, and students from across the country. Before her role with the medical center, she was a classroom teacher for Omaha Public Schools for 9 years. And in her 9 years, she taught in a 4th grade classroom, both science and writing, to as well to high school ESL students. She loves that she gets to take the time and continue to work with health science and science content. And she's honored to work alongside some of the most amazing teachers and students, both in Nebraska and beyond, she says. So thank you so much, Deanna, for your time today and for sharing with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction, Condra. I'm going to share my screen here so we can get started. Very, very grateful to be here with you all today. Anytime I get to join in on NCHSE events, it's an instant yes. So just so grateful for this partnership that we have with everybody. And as I was looking through some of the names, I already see some uBEATS teachers that are on today. So I'm glad you're here and hopefully can give you some great updates in terms of where uBEATS is at. So uBEATS, we're stationed here in Omaha, Nebraska, and we are part of the University of Nebraska system. And so our collaboration is between our University of Nebraska Omaha campus and then our University of Nebraska Medical Center campus. And then the BEATS part of this is building excellence in academics through STEM. Now, when we hear STEM, a lot of times teachers' minds, my mind will go to engineering and to technology, but we really focus in here on the science and the health science portion of that science part of STEM. So what is uBEATS? These are what I call our little nuggets of information. So if you're an administrator or a leader or just a teacher that here's something today and you say, I have to share this with other teachers, hopefully these are those points of information that you will remember to share. So what we are, first and foremost, we are a 100% free program for you and your students. We are completely donor and grant funded, and part of the stipulation for us is that we would continue to provide our resource to you all for free. So we're a free interactive online module program with our target audience being for grades 6 through 12. Now, I will say that a lot of the participants and students that we have in the uBEATS program, a lot of them are in high school, but we're really starting to see this kind of move into that middle school area more and more. And I think with CTE education really starting to look at middle school, we're able to see middle schools join us in our program. So that's really exciting to see that 6th and 7th grade level, and just that the exposure to health careers and health science is starting earlier and earlier. We love to see that. So free interactive online modules for grades 6 through 12. Right now, We have over 90 modules, both in science and health science topics, and I will show you what those look like. I'll actually show you a little glimpse of what a module looks like, and then also some formative assessment activities we include in those modules as well. We do consider ourselves and our modules as a companion resource. So as I've been listening, I know you all have a lot to teach. You have a lot of standards to get through. Your district, your state might provide curriculum for you. And so we really see ourselves as coming alongside of you all and just supporting what you're already teaching. We hear from our NCHSE teachers and teachers in our state that a lot of times there's gaps in curriculum, or there's just a need for a little bit more of an enhancement. And so we're really hoping then that that's where we can come in and support you in your instruction. And then finally, uBEATS, we are vetted by all of our university experts. So what that means is when we create a module here in Omaha, we're not just sitting in the background thinking, oh, this would be a cool module. We are sitting down with the experts in the field to verify all of the information we put in there. And so as teachers, as administrators, that should really give you just some relief that there are experts walking through this process, the development process with us to verify that all our information is up to date and accurate. So now kind of thinking of you as the teachers, as the leaders, here are some extra pieces that we offer in terms of your instruction and how this might benefit you in the classroom. All of our modules come with a standardized summative assessment of 10 questions. So listening, I know our assessments are different than the assessments you may tend to give, especially at the end of a course, but knowing that you would have some summative assessments along the way for formative grades or just check-in points, that's standardized part of our modules. The next thing is, I even wrote a note down in my notebook, just standards. Standards are so important. We know that as teachers that we have to teach to them. They guide us in our instruction. And so we are aligned to the national science. So that would be the NCHSE standards, as well as the National Health Science standards. And I want to take a minute to talk about that just because part of the reason I'm here today is due to the work that NCHSE, Cindy and Nancy and I have done together in making sure that every one of our modules that we offer, so those 90 modules that you would see in our course, that all of those have been verified by Nancy or Cindy and says that, yes, this module does align to this National Health Science standard. So when you enroll or you register for uBEATS, that is part of what we will give you is what we call a matrix. And this matrix will show you every module we offer and then what standard is aligned to that. So that really should help with planning, again, that verification process. And a little side note, huge thank you to Cindy and Nancy for that continued work that they do for us and making sure that we're a verified source for you all. And then my job is to be supportive of you. And so as Chandra mentioned in my introduction, part of my job is to work with you and to support you when you decide to utilize uBEATS in your instruction. So that might mean we meet just via Zoom, or if you're in Nebraska, I love to meet in person, but any way that I can support utilization or implementation, I'm there to support you in that process. And then finally, something just to share with your administration or your district, because this is a topic that is very important and will come up eventually usually with enrolling students into a resource. And that is that we are COPA compliant, which means we do not receive any student information from you. You are my gateway keeper, you are my point of contact, and it is up to you to distribute logins and passwords to the uBEATS course and know what student is attached to what ID. So we do not receive any student information We are currently in 45 states. And so each state has their own unique student privacy laws. And so we just bypass all of that and are very proud to maintain our COPA compliant status. So getting into uBEATS now, what we offer, these are what we call our big module topics. And this is where you would find our modules and where they might fall in terms of the content that we offer. So we do have a series, a 5-module series on cancer. We also offer modules in genetics. Our biggest content area is our pathology and microbiology. This would include modules on the topics of bacteria, antibacteria, aseptic technique, and so forth. Pharmacology. I want to speak to pharmacology for a second because in talking through why you should go to the conferences, I can attest that the relationships you make at this conference are just incredible. And one of the relationships that came out of NCHSE and going to these conferences was our relationship that was built with the Pharm Tech Certification Board Group. And so if you teach pharmacology or pharm tech courses, we actually did another alignment with that group and the National Pharm Tech Standards. So I know several teachers that I have met at the NCHSE conference do teach those pharmacology, pharm tech courses. And so just knowing that you would have those modules aligned on the national health science side, but then also on the pharm tech side is great. So they are a wonderful group to work with, but our pharmacology modules have been aligned to their standards as well. We also offer our modules in public health and academic success. We as a team right now are really focusing in on this careers and healthcare topic. I don't know about all of your states, but in Nebraska, there is a significant shortage of healthcare workers in our state. And so with all of us brainstorming together where we should move forward, we really want to bring exposure to healthcare careers for middle school and high school. And what we mean by this is going beyond doctor and nurse. We did just release a module in careers in nursing that is going to walk students through different levels of nursing, different areas of nursing. But some of these would include careers in genetics or careers in public health. And just again, to bring exposure to our students, just to give them an idea that there are other careers beyond doctor and nurse needed. We need those in our state, but also might spark some interest in another field there as well. So that's where we're headed, is we're really looking at these careers in healthcare and any ideas that our teachers have. We've had a huge request recently for careers in sports medicine. Any of those that you know, I would really love a module that focuses in on this. Please feel free to share those recommendations with us. We greatly appreciate it. So coming soon, we're getting ready to open the 2024-2025 academic year. And so when we do that, these are the modules that are currently in development or that you will see in the course that if you're a returning teacher, maybe you haven't seen before. So right now we have in the works careers in rehabilitation sciences that will include little glimpses of PT, OT, and SLP careers in there. Loud and clear from our teachers, we have heard, please make modules on medical terminology. And so we are moving forward with that. And right now we have about 14 medical terminology modules that are in development and in the works. So we really hope that will support you well in what you're teaching. It'll take us a minute to make them. And I apologize for, usually a module takes about 6 months to make, but we're trying to move through them as fast as we can, but they will be there soon. We also will be including 3 modules in behavioral health, which will focus on stress and resiliency training. And then we will be adding 2 modules as well, one for middle school in drug and alcohol prevention, and then also one for high school. So we're really excited. Our team has been working really, really hard to get you new material. And so hopefully, like I said, if you're a returning uBEATS teacher, these are going to be new and you can include them this year. If you're a brand new teacher, hopefully you'll see value in adding that to your instruction. And then I do want to talk just about another, this is a little sub bucket of uBEATS, and that is we do offer badging, or also known as micro-credentialing. And so what this means is we have identified 5 areas within uBEATS where we really think we can provide a badge for our students to show foundational understanding and competency in a particular area. So right now we offer 5 digital badges through Canvas Credentials. And those 5 that we offer include a badge in pharmacy, dentistry, infectious disease, public health, and genetics. And the way that this works is that our team has gone through the entire uBEATS catalog and identified 8 modules that we think really showcase that knowledge. So students, they will get their login, their password from you. They will log into uBEATS, go to our badging section, and then pick which pathway they would like to accomplish. The great thing about badging is the modules are already predetermined, and students can work through those modules at their own pace. They don't have to do all 8 in a day, but if they want to do a few one week and a few the next, they can do that at their own pace with no problems. After they've completed 8 of our modules, then we do assign a badge summative assessment. So this summative assessment pulls questions from all 8 modules, and students would have to receive 24 out of 30 correct, which would be an 80% to pass and gain access to their badge. So then we're encouraging teachers with the badge right now just to really talk through what these badges can mean. We have some teachers that use badging for extra credit. We have some that are using it to build resumes. They're doing that within their courses, and this is just a piece of building a resume that they use. If students are ready to start professional social media profiles, when I log on to LinkedIn, I see a lot of adult learners posting badges that they're earning in all kinds of areas. And so it's up to the teacher how they would like to utilize these digital badges. We launched this in January of this year, and so far we've been able to award 275 badges throughout the country. And like I said, we love to hear from teachers how they're utilizing it. And that's up to you we're not going to prescribe that portion of it to you, but it is available. And again, part of enrolling your students. There's no additional charge for this. It's just part of the uBEATS program. So now I'd like to take a few minutes and just kind of give you a quick glimpse as to what one of our modules will look like. For this module in particular, the designer was feeling use of animation. Sometimes it'll be animated and other times it will be more real-time photos or videos. The way that our modules are designed, they are designed to be 15 minutes in length, but they're not timed. So if a student takes a little bit longer, that's okay. Or if a student's a fast learner, they can get through more in 15 minutes than just one. The way we design them is we use a chunked content format, which means that students will have content, then they will go into a formative assessment activity or question, a little bit more content, and then you can see there on the menu that we do give those 10 summative assessment questions. And again, standard to every module. For accessibility, all of our modules are narrated, and they also come with closed captionings and a downloadable transcript as well. This next quick video here would be one of those formative assessment style review questions that would be in between the chunked content. This is a drag and label activity. And what's nice about our formative assessment and our summative assessment questions is we do provide instant feedback. You'll see here in this last one, they submit, and there is a quick little blurb about why it might be incorrect and allows the student to try again. So we do provide that correct and incorrect feedback with all of our summative and formative assessment questions. And then just a few things here beyond uBEATS and the modules that we offer. As a curriculum specialist, I know, and a teacher, I know how much work we all and you all have to do. And so these are just some additional services that I like to offer to teachers just to support you as best as I can. I kind of mentioned this one already, but I love to talk. It's one I think anyone on this call that knows me knows that's very true. I love to talk. So anytime that you want to schedule a consultation or do trainings with other teachers, whatever that might be, happy to do that. I wish I had the means to come meet you all in person, but that's what's great about Zoom is we can meet virtually with no problem. So happy to do consultations over the phone or over Zoom if that's something that would help you. You have questions, we can do that. This next one I really want to talk about just because I had started offering these about a year ago and I'm seeing a pretty decent request for these, but I understand the why. And that is doing curriculum alignment plans. Now I've done curriculum alignment plans for Department of Education. I've done one for Department of Ed in Nevada. I've also done it for the state of Alabama and for Nebraska, of course. And so what that looks like at that Department of Education level is they send me their state health science standards, and then I plug in our modules where I think they would align best. And then they can provide that to teachers, and then they're ready to go. I've also done this for individual teachers. So maybe they're Department of Ed's not quite there to get on board with uBEATS yet, and that's okay, but there's a teacher that's ready for that. And so they will send me a curriculum guide or a scope and sequence. And then I do that same thing. I go in and I plug in our uBEATS modules for them. And as a teacher, I know that your plan time is so valuable and you don't get enough of it. And so this is just one way that we hope to support you and that we're giving you back that planning piece of uBEATS. So if that's something you need or you're interested in, just send me an email. I'll have that here in just a minute, contact information. Send me an email, give me some time. It does take me a little bit of time to do that, but I'm happy to do that for you to give you back all of that plan time. I know that uBEATS might take you to go through all of our material. The next piece of this too is technical support. So I'm housed in the UNMC Office of E-Learning. And so it's not just me with uBEATS, there's a whole team behind me, but they are experts in e-learning and IT. And so if you run into a situation where something happens with a module or whatever that might be, just know that you have a whole office to support you. We are housed on Canvas. Don't let that scare you. We use Canvas more as a website than we do as you have to be a registered Canvas user. But if you run into issues with Canvas, we have people on our team that are experts that can help. So just know you have that technical support and assistance as well. And then I had mentioned just some of those tools that are available to you with the modules. We have teacher guides that come for every single one of our modules. And the teacher guides give you vocabulary. They go into the standards a little bit more, give you some idea of prior knowledge that there might need to be. And so we do try to set you up for success just as you prepare to utilize those modules in your instruction. Okay, I think I'm a little past time, so I'll wrap up here. First and foremost, thank you all for what you do every single day. I don't take you for granted. I know you have a lot going on, so if you choose to use uBEATS, we appreciate it. We have no gain out of that other than providing this for you. We don't receive money than from our grant to give this to you. So thank you if you choose to use us. We really appreciate that. We have our email there. Please feel free to email again for those curriculum alignments or questions you might have. Our website is a great tool. We have 5 modules on there that you can go and kind of play around with just to get a better feel for what uBEATS is. And then social media, we're on there and we love to share what you're doing and promote our teachers. We also put a lot of our own information. If a new module is coming out or something exciting is happening, we'll put that on our social media platforms as well. And then there are 3 QR codes here just as we close out for you. There's 2 lesson plans that follow gradual release of instruction. So if you're like, could I use this whole group? Does it have to be independent? This might just kind of help you get started and what that would look like at each level of instruction. If you're ready to sign up today, that QR code in the middle takes a few minutes just to sign up, and then we will be sending out student logins and passwords end of this month, early next month. So if you sign up today, we'll be in contact, but that's when you can expect to get your logins. And then if you like this presentation, you can also download that to share out with your colleagues. And then, yes, that's my information. Feel free to also personally email me. Hopefully I didn't go too far over, but thank you all so much. Appreciate you allowing me to share this today.
We do have just a couple questions for you, Deanna, if that's okay.
Yes. No.
Can you tell us if uBEATS is available in multiple languages?
Oh, that's a great question. So part of our next round of funding, which will be coming up very soon, one of our initiatives with that next round of funding is to get these translated first into Spanish. That's where we'd like to start, but the hope is to then build off of that and add more languages. So I can't say right now, yes, we offer that, but it's definitely within our means for this next round of funding.
Wonderful. We also have several educators who are already working to register their students for uBEATS, but their question is if they don't have all the student login information now, like maybe they have additional students later, can they add more later, or do they need to know today, or whatever the day is that they choose to log?
Yes, another great question. Actually, what's great about uBEATS is we are open enrollment from now until the end of June. So what that means for you is if you go ahead and put in, okay, I need 50 logins today, and we know as teachers, we get new students all the time. All you have to do is send uBEATS an email or send me an email, tell me how many you need, and I'll send them off to you. So at any point within the academic year, you can always request more, no problem.
That is wonderful. And outside of that, we just had a grouping of individuals asking what this cost, and we knew the answer to that one. So we were able to tell them free. It was free.
Yes, it's free, and we are going to keep it free as long as we can. So the good news is that's the stipulation from our generous donors, is that we just want to increase health science exposure, whether that be through the content of health science, whether that be through careers, exploration. And so, yes, completely free of charge, no obligation. If you sign up, you start using it and say, hey, this really doesn't fit in well, no problem. We're not going to make you come back. You don't want to. We'll be sad, but no, just enjoy this resource and hopefully it helps you out in your instruction.
Thank you so much. That wraps up what we have on here, but we did share that same info you had on your slide in the chat. And so I know you'll probably be hearing from several educators who were here today.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Deanna. So hopefully I see a lot of people were registering. I registered while she was talking, so we're all ready to rock and roll. So I did see somebody at the very end asked, does it carry over? Does a student account carry over from year to year? Or do they need to re-up every year?
Yeah, uBEATS actually used to be that way. We would carry students over, but when I came on board, I started noticing that we had a lot of movement going on. Students moving to different schools, teachers moving to different schools. And so we now are in a annual enrollment, which just means that teachers will need to register now. They can ask for as many logins as they want throughout the school year. We will close down uBEATS at the end of June, and then we take the month of July because we have a lot of updates to make to the uBEATS course. So then we ask our teachers, I send out an email, say, hey, it's time to re-enroll. And then we ask you to come back and do that registration form again, just real quick before the school year.
Okay, cool. Oh, all right. So we're going to move on to our next presenter I'm excited about. I actually found Shiley Endicott on our Facebook page. So those of you that are on our HSEA Facebook page, you never know when you're going to get a PM and say, hey, we need your help. So Shiley Endicott earned her Bachelor of Science from Excelsior University in 2016. Her Master's of Science in Exercise Science from Penn West in 2017. She began teaching health sciences at Hannibal Career and Tech Center in 2019. She also teaches health science adjunct for her local university. She's not too busy. In 2023, she was an ACTE National Fellow and began serving on the ACTE Region 3 board. She earned her ACTE Health Science New Teacher of the Year of 2022 and Health Science Teacher of the Year in 2023. Awesome. She was also a Teacher of the Year semifinalist for Magic School AI in 2024, which is how I found her. She has been a host advisor for 2 years, taking 15 students to her state competition and 2 to internationals this past summer. In her free time, you have free time? In her free time, her husband and 5 of their children enjoy traveling and having lots of fun. So, Shiley, take it away.
Thank you very much. First thing, I'm going to drop my email address down in the chat. So if you need to get a hold of me, it's there for you. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what AI is and how we can use it to our benefit here in the classroom. So first of all, I'm going to just share my screen with you. This is my contact information here. Again, S. Endicott at Hannibal 60. I'm up in the northeast part of Missouri. And then I have some objectives that we're going to go over today. So I'm first going to talk to you guys about creating a lesson plan and what that looks like.
If you can just increase your, make that view, make your screen view. It's, yeah.
Better?
Perfect.
Okay. So we're going to talk about what creating a lesson plan looks like. And this lesson plan that I'm going to cover is the one that I used as my final in one of my classes last year. It was a final project. I think it was about 3 weeks, and it included an AI video component. So we'll look at that. And then we all have to be out of the classroom at some point. So we'll look at creating a quick sub plan, and then some other rubrics that I've used AI to create, some worksheets that I've used. And then I have another topic here that I just want to show you real quickly that could benefit you. So as I transition here, I am first here at Magic School AI. If you haven't used Magic School AI before, it is a free app. And you can just go to the website and use those resources. There are paid resources as well. I have not opted into the paid resources yet, but I am about there because if you can see down here, you start to lose some of your output once you get too far into into using this tool. So for me, I chose, or so far I've chosen not to have a paid source service. I think it's almost $100 a year for an individual setup. But what I'm going to show you is our 10th grade medical ethics overview. So we're going to edit the prompt so that I can show you the prompt. My youngest students in class are 10th grade. So I set that at 10th grade level. What's interesting and fun about this is that if I have a student who reads at a 6th grade level, I can change this and it will create the same assignment at that level. And then I put in what topic or text I wanted it to include. So this project here was medical ethics. And I wanted it to include these parts of medical ethics: autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice of life, end of life, euthanasia, etc. And so then I hit generate. And this is what it came up with. This is a worksheet here. And this is what it came up with. So what I did was I used this worksheet essentially to give a mini lecture. Now, if I go back, so, oh, I apologize. I created this in ChatGPT, and then I used that lecture for this assignment. So here's my project. I typed into ChatGPT, and you can go to chatgpt.com and sign up there. It's also free unless you want to pay for the premium upgrade. But I typed in create a final project for 10th graders covering medical ethics. Project should take about 3 weeks total and include an AI generated video component to show to the class. So here's my week 1 breakdown. I've got 2 days of lecture, 1 day of case study that it builds into my lesson plan. So I've got a 3-week lesson plan here, or unit plan. Case studies, and then my research assignment should take 2 days. And then here's week 2, project development. So my students now, they've learned about what medical ethics is, and now we're getting into the project. Here's what day 1, day 2, and day 3 look like. The script writing. So I had all my students do their research, and then they had to write a script. We took that script, and put it into InVideo AI, which I'll show you here in a minute, and used the script to generate an AI video for their project. And then on week 3, we allowed a couple of days for completion. Then I offered, we watched all the videos, but if the students wanted to talk about their process of creating the video, then I offered extra credit for that. And then we did allocate some time for Q&As. Reflection discussion. So this last day, we did just an assessment and a reflection and discussion. I put these 2 together in my one class to help, I guess, speed things along. And then I wanted a rubric. So I asked ChatGPT, you can see over here on the right-hand side of the screen that I asked, create a rubric for this project. And then it gave me a rubric here on content knowledge, research, project organization, creativity and engagement, and then the AI-generated video component, their presentation skills, their ethical considerations in their project, collaboration and participation. They were allowed to either work by themselves or with one partner. The overall impact. So what was the significant impact of this project? And I'll share with you, I had one student who did her project on whether or not parents who had an anencephalic baby born to them could choose to donate their baby's organs. And so that project has had a significant impact in our classroom because it's really got kids thinking about what the organ donation requirements are right now. And that an anencephalic baby does not meet those requirements, and whether or not students have been discussing whether or not those benchmarks for organ donation should be adjusted. So it's created really great conversation in my classroom. So this is the rubric for the project. Now I'll go back to Magic School. and that medical ethics overview that I just tapped on. This was my worksheet that I used to introduce medical ethics. I first created a video myself using InVideo AI, introducing the topic very briefly in about 3 minutes. And then we talked in class using this worksheet. And this worksheet also includes fill in the blank. It included multiple choice questions, and it included some open-end questions here, as well as the answer key for each of those. And my open-ended questions, it just gives you a basis on what those questions should be ish. There's some playing there, since students will want to make their own changes and have their own verbiage. But what I would like to show you real quick is within InVideo AI. So I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to show you this video. This was my introduction video to this assignment. So hopefully it loads. Part of it's loaded at least, but this is how I showed them. I'm using AI responsibly, and I would like you to use AI responsibly as well. So here we go.
Have you ever pondered the question, should a doctor ever lie to a patient for their own good? Welcome to a world where such conundrums aren't just hypothetical, but a part of everyday life. This is the world of medical ethics. In the next 3 minutes, we will embark on a journey through the labyrinth of medical ethics, touching on the key topics that often leave even the most seasoned professionals scratching their heads. From end-of-life care to genetic testing, and from the principle of justice to the concept of non-maleficence, we will delve into the core of these complex issues. Imagine being in a position where you have to decide on the end-of-life care for a loved one. It's a heart-wrenching situation that demands a delicate balance between empathy and practicality. End-of-life care embodies the principle of beneficence, the ethical obligation to act in the best interest of the patient. But what truly constitutes best interest? And then there's euthanasia, a concept that stirs up a whirlwind of emotions and ethical conflicts. This is where the principle of non-maleficence comes into play, reminding us of the ancient Hippocratic Oath.
So I'm going to pause there. That's about a third of the way through my video. But I did want to show you that to make this video, I typed in, if I can find it, I typed in here what I wanted it to say. So hopefully it doesn't play. So I gave it a command and I told it what I wanted it to say. I also chose my audience, my look and feel, and the platform I was going to link it to. And then I hit that generate video here, and it created a video for me. You can tell over on my left-hand side, I presented on this at MOACD a couple of weeks ago, and I just did a quick video about why dogs are better than cats. I think I have one also that's why cats are better than dogs. So just in 2 minutes, you can just write anything in here and it will create some sort of a video for you. Or you can copy and paste your own, script and it will create a video based on your script. So here's the script. I can go in there and edit it. I can edit the music that's in my video. I can edit what media I'm using or what pictures, things like that in that video. And that's what I taught my students how to do, was we used the project rubric here that I talked about, that I created on ChatGPT. We used this to do a research project. So through this, I was able to show students that AI is not terrible, but that we have to be responsible when we're using it. So by having the rubric built in and having them have to write their own script, it helped them be more responsible with using it versus just typing into ChatGPT, write me a 4-paragraph essay on end-of-life care, and then they had to actually have a rubric, or excuse me, a script to put into that video. I also do use GPT checkers. So I run everything that's donated in my classroom, excuse me, that's turned in my classroom. I run it through a plagiarism checker, as well as Zero GPT and one other GPT checker as well. And if the vast majority across all three of them says that this is most likely AI generated, I go ahead, send it back to the student, say something along the lines of, hey, I understand this is a hard time of the year and that you might be busy, but after reviewing this, it looks like you might have used AI more than necessary for this project. And then I will give them 1 week to redo the project and return it in with their own words, which would create a new video for them as well. So besides this project, something else that I have used AI for, I use it for a lot of things, but sub-plans are great. So last week, I created this sub-plan with a group of Missouri health science instructors, and we typed in that it was going to be a 10th grade level lesson plan where we are going to identify taking brachial pulse. What does the word brachial mean? Where else can you take pulse, and what is pulse? I also put that it needed to have a 2-paragraph reading excerpt about what pulse is, so students had an introduction. I can't rely on subs to know that information, and how to effectively take pulse at that site, and include a table where students can take 4 partners pulse and record them. And then I also asked it to set standards aligned to NCHSE, and I hit generate, and this is the lesson that I got. So this is about a 45-minute lesson. I could have typed in that I needed it to be an 80-minute lesson because that's how many minutes we're in class. But I've got my key points here. This is an opening. My sub can either open with this on their own if they are knowledgeable about pulse, or we can have these conversations in our table groups. So what do you know about pulse? Why is it important to know about it, etc. Here I mistyped when I
we're
asked.
still seeing medical ethics, I think. Are y'all seeing?
Oh, hold on, let me see.
Okay.
Are we good now?
You got intro to new
Yes.
material?
Okay.
Yes, now we're seeing the lesson plan.
Okay, I'm so sorry for that. So I'll go back through. This is what I typed into Magic School, 10th grade. Here's my topics or objectives. This is my additional criteria, and I wanted NCHSE standards for it to be aligned to. I hit generate, and this is what I got here. So here's my key points that it's going to touch on. My opening here is what we would have our table groups talking about. So I just typed when I asked for the 2 readings. So what I did was I went back to ChatGPT and I typed in, give me a 2-paragraph reading excerpt on what pulse is and the location of the brachial pulse. And I got that. And then here's some guided practice. So we paired students up, talked about it. And then here's my table that I asked Magic School AI to create for me. So it's very basic, but there is a table. And then there's an extension activity if students finish early. There's homework here, having students take their pulse at different times. And then it tells us at the very bottom which NCHSE standards were addressed. Now, please keep in mind that you do have to fact check all AI generators. I did go back and look to make sure that those were standards, and the standards that I came up with for NCHSE, and these are a little convoluted and not exactly the same. So I would go back and address that. But that is how you would create like a sub plan. Now, if we look at my other output history, there's lots of things that you can use this for. So emails, writing a reference letter, etc. This one is nice. This is a worksheet generator. And what I did was I wanted it to be 10th grade level. And I just dropped in a PDF of something that I was talking about. So this PDF is a slideshow, I think. I had to download the slideshow as a PDF, and then I just put in my PDF here, and then I hit generate, and it created fill in the blanks. It created multiple choice questions based on the slideshow, and my answer bank, my answer key here, and my open-ended questions. So all three of those types of questions and my answer key are all right here for my PDF instead of me trying to write that. So this would be a great opportunity even for YouTube. It does make this for YouTube. If you scroll down here, YouTube video questions, you put what grade level, what type of question you want, how many, and then the link for the YouTube video, and it will generate questions for you based on that. Something else that I have used, I'm going to go back to ChatGPT. I'm sorry I'm going back and forth. I just have different topics that I've used different AI generators with, mostly because I like to play around with all of them. So in that medical ethics project, we talked about in week 1 that we were going to look at case studies. So, and someone asked about case studies on the Facebook page. And so I did want to show you that I used ChatGPT to write me case studies about different medical ethics. So I had case study 1, end of life care, and some discussion questions. Case study 2, organ transplant allocations and questions. Case study 3, genetic testing and privacy, and case study questions. And then what I did with these was I cut them up and I put them at different tables, and we rotated discussing how we would handle these different discussions, or how we discuss these different dilemmas using those discussion questions at the table. So they'd have about 3 or 4 minutes with each question, and then we'd rotate to the next one. And I have 6 table groups in my classroom, so I just made 2 copies of each one. I copy and pasted them into Microsoft or into Google Doc and printed them off that way. And then I had some medical ethics fill in the blanks where they had to define which ethical dilemmas were each of those. And then there's the answer discussion there. And then we had discussion questions about abortion in our classroom, with that being a hot topic, genetic cloning, and what was the Missouri law requiring genetic cloning. And so I was able to look up that, and then we had a conversation about what that looks like. Embryonic selective genetics, so being able to select certain genes on embryos. And we just had really tough conversations that students didn't even really know that maybe they want to or don't want to have an opinion about them. I have used this here. I wrote a thank you email for an interview that I had. So I used it just as a way to get a quick email out that was concise. I used this to look up gluten-free dinner options because I was kind of running out of ideas with my family. So it gave me a bunch of dinner option ideas. And then I was looking for this specific, I wrote a grant using AI and was able to get some grant money into my classroom so that I could purchase air fryers and blenders and toasters in the classroom so that my sports nutrition class could work on actually like eating food that we're talking about. And I picked those because my students can use those in their dorms, and I can't find it right now. I know that it's
the sports nutrition grant proposal.
Yeah, you're right. It's right there. There it is. So there's my a grant proposal, and I was pretty direct in what I wanted my typing here. I was very specific. It has to be $1,000, small appliances and kitchenware. These are the things I need. blenders, air fryers, cooktops, pots and pans, etc. And how many students it was going to benefit each year. The meals were nutrient dense, they're healthy snacks. So I put a lot of information. And then what ChatGPT did for me was it took my information and put it in a nice, concise email that I was able to submit to General Mills. We have a General Mills center here near us. And I was able to submit that. And then I got $750 that I'm able to use in my classroom. So you can tell here in the middle, I didn't quite like the way it sounded. So I said, rewrite this from my perspective as a sports nutrition teacher at Hannibal Career and Tech Center. And then it edited the way that it sounded a little bit to sound more like it was from a teacher than a community organization. So I thought that was a really great option. I've looked at low prep high school fundraisers. If you do, you know that it costs money. So how can we have quick fundraisers, car wash, dress up day, movie night, talent show, flower sales, etc. So several options there, but it works really well for being able to brainstorm. And this is what I try to share with my students too. It's a really great resource for brainstorming. We've used it for rubrics a lot. This is one of my favorite things. If you are staying away from trying new things in your classroom because rubrics are tedious and they are not easy to make all the time, Magic School and ChatGPT do a really great job at creating rubrics, and they format them. So this one was a 50-point project where high school students research an infectious disease, share with the class who found it, the mode of transmission, prevention, is it curable, what's the prognosis, vaccination, etc. And so here was just a simple rubric for me to be able to take and disseminate to my students so that they could use that for that project. I am a personal trainer, so I had a strength plan that I used. I teach a personal training class, so this is a tool that I use to teach my personal trainers. Like you can use this as a great tool to help work through personal trainers, as long as you know what you're looking for. Like I put, my trainer has hip and ankle pain. She's using it for 6 months leading up to a race, 2 to 4 days per week of strength training, 1 day of yoga or stretching, etc. And it really created a great plan. And I was able to take out certain things or add certain things in. For example, downward dog, where I'm looking at right now, my client has low back pain, and downward dog is counterintuitive for downward for low back pain. So I adjusted that when I gave this to a client. So there's really, I mean, you could use this for anything. It's really a great tool, and it's not doing any good for you or your students if you just ban it in the classroom, or like some school districts have banned it, because it's not going anywhere. We've had AI in healthcare for years and years and years. Now it's just becoming more accessible. So please reach out to me if you want any of the rubrics I've created, or you want to see more, anything else, or you have questions about it, because I think this is just an awesome tool that that we can all use.
Shiley, thanks for representing Missouri. I appreciate it. We do have some questions in the chat, so I'm just going to start to ask you some, if that's okay.
Okay.
The first one was, what were those 3 sites that you had noted? Oh, I just lost my chat. Regarding the students who were using 50% or more of AI.
Sure. So in Google Classroom is a built-in plagiarism checker. That's always my first one, plagiarism checker. So if you use another website, we use Google Classroom in ours. So I always use the built-in plagiarism checker there. And the second one I mentioned was ZeroGPT. My third one is kind of iffy. I was finding that I was getting inconsistencies there. So I'm not going to share that one today because I ended up kind of getting rid of it near the end of the school year. And I didn't find that one to be accurate, but ZeroGPT along with a plagiarism checker are great tools.
Perfect. And then someone had asked when you were talking about the medical ethics case study, if you had searched basically by that, or was it like a specific title topic that you utilized?
So I created my medical ethics like the whole lesson I created on my own using GPT. So when I typed into Chat GPT for the case studies, I told it what kind of case studies I wanted. I think that was the question. I specifically said I want a case study over these medical dilemmas.
Perfect. And then someone was asking about if there was a way to get notes on kind of how the online apps work, kind of in a little more direct for the topics. Should she just reach out to you individually, or?
Yeah, they're all very self-explanatory. If you reach out to me, we can do a quick Zoom chat where I can share my screen and walk you through the step by step. But with each of these, ChatGPT is really just you type in like you're typing in Google that you're searching for something, and you can be as broad or as narrow as you want, and then you can add and subtract from it, which is really great. Magic School AI, it gives you those prompts where it asks you what grade level do you want, and what kind of questions do you want, things like that. What topics or objectives do you want?
Perfect. And then it just looks like there's a lot of interest in learning more. And it sounds like you're already signed up to be one of the breakout presenters at the upcoming national conference. Potentially, we might be reaching out to you regarding the Wednesday webinars, especially using some of, the different AIs. So I think I caught all the questions. I hope I didn't miss them, but because you put your contact information in here, I'm just going to say, if you want to talk to Shiley, I know she'll be happy to talk to you as well and help you through any questions that you may have. So thank you much. Thank you much. I'm going to copy your email address, and I'm going to put it at the bottom of the chat so that everybody has it. Okay.
Okay. I see someone that says, I'd love to create a case study for each body system. I played with this last year and created case studies for every body system last year, just very brief and very basic. Maybe not every body system, just several of them, just because I wanted to see what AI could give me and where I needed to alter or edit them. So it's really easy to use either of those tools to do that. Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you so much.
All right, I think we're down to our last presenter. And Kathy is going to introduce Melanie.
Okay. Our next presenter is Dr. Melanie Moore. She has extensive experience in not only building curriculum for nursing and allied health, but workforce development, upskilling or reskilling programs and apprenticeships, as well as career and technical education modules in healthy living curriculum. With over 25 years of experience in healthcare and health education, as well as a doctorate in higher education and a master's in health science, Melanie is positioned to provide great insight in today's educational needs, as well as unique student experiences. Thank you, Melanie, for agreeing to present for us today.
Let me take myself off of mute. This has been so exciting. Thank you guys for inviting me. I sound so sterile compared to everybody else. It has been a pleasure. I love anything to do with NCHSE. I fell in love with Nancy and the whole thing. I do come from an educational background. I started out medical assisting and nursing, and we won't go into my whole 7-page CV, but I have developed many of the programs that you guys are teaching. So one of the things that I work with teachers such as yourself is bringing back that curiosity into the classroom. As we, start out as children in infants, one of the things that our kids are always asking is what? Why? And as they move into school with the abundance of information that they have to learn, their ABCs and their 1, 2, 3s and how to be a good citizen and all the good things, we kind of squash that. We teach them not to ask why, right? So by the time they get to you guys in middle school and high school and post-secondary, They just are ready for it to be fed to them, right? So you can see here a little bit of how that's starting or has been changing over the past several decades. You can see here that we've moved from a centered, teacher-centered classroom to more of a student-centered. There's less rote memorization. We have, as medical professions, we have, as educators, we have to make sure that not only do our students learn the parts of the body, they need to know the muscles, they need to know the bones, but that rote memorization is not what's going to make them successful. They've got to be able to think clinically, critically, and have clinical judgment, which is what the NCLEX is all about. I am an NCLEX writer. One of the things that I've been doing over the past several years working with the new NGN is trying to get some of the other health occupations like medical assisting, like respiratory therapy, surgical tech, to start thinking more of that competency-based and critical thinking, critical judgment measurement model, excuse me. Because we've got to have people in the field that know what they're doing. So we've taken, that natural and innate drive, starting with infancy, and we've squashed it. So how do we get that back with today's learner, right? They want convenience, they want control, and they want a lot of communication. And you guys, I am a teacher myself, so I like to have a lot of interaction with everybody. So please feel free to ask questions as we go along. So again, student-centered approaches. Some of the things that we can do for convenience, those micro-learning modules. We create at Blended Learning, that's my company, we create what we call micropods, where students can learn on the go, basically. A lot of it's what we call it earn while you learn. And it's good for post-secondary students or secondary students that may have to work outside of the home. We use a lot of AI and a lot of self-paced learning. Students want to have that control. And so we've got to be able to let them have that self-paced control, but also apply it to real life needs. Communication, they're very social. We all know that. The age of, we're so far into technology now that we don't even refer to millennials anymore. Right? So how do we reignite curiosity in the older student? And when I say older student, I'm talking about the 6th grade on up. Because at this point, 6th grade and up, they're having more of their own life experiences. Even at 6th grade, I've got a 7th grader here. She can tell you, she preaches half of what the preacher's going to preach before he gets to it. They have an abundance of life lessons that they can bring to the classroom. So how do we reignite that curiosity? How do we get them to have a sense of autonomy and ownership? And how do we add that convenience to the curriculum? Well, it has to start with us, right? We have to reignite the curiosity in ourselves, because we've gone through that same process. We've gone through all of the education. We've gone through sitting in classrooms and listening to the Charlie Brown teacher, wah, 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 wah. So we've got to reignite ourselves. So we have to be curious. We have to ask questions. We have to teach them how to ask questions. Use the students to ideate. They let them be part of what the classroom is going to be like. What's the classroom environment going to look like to them? And then implement them and have them help you implement these into the classroom. I tell you, when I was in teaching, I have taught nursing, medical assisting, post-secondary. And when I started consulting, I was recruited to start the health occupations courses for a charter school. Never in my life would I have thought that I would have been teaching high school, but I loved it. I loved it because they got so excited about learning. And it was one of those things where you got to take Miss Moore's class. You got to take Miss Moore's class. You got to take her anatomy class. You got to take her health science class. And that to me is why we all do what we do, is that aha moment, that And sometimes they lose that when they get into the higher school, in the high school and into the higher grades. So we want to make sure that we modeled that openness and that curiosity ourselves. So I know, Nancy, we're running a little bit behind. Lissa, do we have time to do a quick collaboration? If not,
so. Yeah, go ahead.
If
Go
not, if everybody can scan here, then we can go to takes you to a Jamboard. And there are, you can, if anybody wants to stick a Post-it note on there of if things that you do in your classroom that you do communicate to students, or how you collaborate with students, what you do to help them feel in control or have autonomy over their learning. One thing that we've implemented in a couple of schools is, and obviously you can't do this, it's harder to do in a public school setting, but some of the private schools we've done as personalized learning plans, where they sit with their teacher and they create their own personal learning plan for the week, and they also, for the whole year, and then the terms and months, and it breaks it down into weeks. But that way they have control over it. And if they fail, or we don't say they fail, but if they're not successful, then it's a lot, they have to take some ownership of that.
For the Jamboard, it's saying that we have to
sign up.
Yes, well, it says request sent, that you had to approve it, I think. So you want to just have them put some things in the chat?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay.
Because
give them so tell them again.
Just some things that they do, things that you guys do to build curiosity, to get them to ask questions. Also, anything that you do to kind of have them have control and some autonomy over their learning. How do you have them communicate with each other? I mean, do we do groups? Do we do, how do you guys, do you use TikTok in your classrooms? Do you use social media, other social medias? I like all of these are looking good. Yeah. Because I tell you, if we don't, one of my favorite things I used to say to my students was, I don't know. You go research it. I'm gonna go research it, and let's come back and talk about it tomorrow. And then because I don't think that as a teacher, I'm more of this. I have always looked at myself as more of a facilitator of learning, and so I want to get them to do some of the work, right? Because then they get interested in it. A grocery story. I love that. That's cute. So we all know that the typical lesson plan, we have learning objectives, we have an introduction, we have didactic information. And for us in the healthcare, there's always a lab, right? Some kind of lab or clinicals that we're going to do with them. A lot of science classes use the engage, explore, explain, extend, evaluate, and those are all good, but we have to be able to use, all of these things that we want to put into our daily and weekly lesson plans. These are all fine, but we've got to give them opportunities to do these things, to engage, to explore, and to explain to each other, not just teacher to student. Again, Charlie Brown regurgitation of information is not really what they want. And one of the things that I always say, you can do right brain, you can, like the peer-led instruction, you can do right brain, you can do left brain. Well, what about doing both sides of the brain? I used to hand my kids an anatomy color crayons. Okay, color the muscles, color the bones. And they at first, when they first started doing it, they laughed at me, but when they got ready to take their exam, they remembered that purple was the muscles, yellow was the bones. So they've been able to explore how they can learn and match both of those sides of the brain. So asking open-ended questions, we engage. This is a lot of repeat for you guys. You guys all know how to engage your students, or you wouldn't be where you are now. You wouldn't be sitting in this room, this web room. But follow up on those questions. Keep the questions coming. That's the thing. Ask the open-ended questions. Explore, again, you or guys are doing peer-led reviews, peer-led instruction. I love the know, learned, still have questions for those of you who do the intake tickets or exit tickets. Anything that they can do to get their hands into something. Most people go into the medical field. I think you guys will color their field. A lot of you guys do a lot of creative things for labs, but we all know that people in the medical field, they've gotten in this because they want to help people and they're very kinesthetic. So we need to have them. One of the things that I used to do when we were medical assisting, we always had them start a clinical class as soon as we could get in there, because if not, our attrition rates were incredible. So they want to do something. They want to do something that they can do with their hands. They want to learn things that are going to help people or that they can take and use in life. So I'm not going to read through all these again. I know Nancy's going to have these available to you. So if you guys need anything about that, I just want to get onto the project-based learning, because this is where everybody's done a great job talking about the standards and about Shally. I was so interested in the AI because we've been using that, but we've been charged with teaching these students how to communicate, how to think critically, how to manage their time. They've got to be able to work together as a team. And so we also all have common skills that we have to teach, regardless of whatever they're going in, whatever field they're going into. There's also common skills, clinical skills. So, we have to teach them hand hygiene, gowning, PPE, all of these things. It doesn't matter which field they're going into. If they're going into healthcare, they've got to learn these things. So how do we make sure that we're teaching and assessing universally? So that's where I think that it's really important that the standards that we use in high school are the national healthcare, the national consortium standards, because, and I will show you, KHEP, for example, if you have been in education, KHEP, Mayor, ABHES, KHEP, in addition to the COARC and all the other things all the other accreditation bodies. KHEP, though, is kind of the gold standard in post-secondary health education for the most part. They have 34 programs. These are just a few of them. I know you guys are familiar with these, but these are some of the standards that they have in the KHEP standards. The NCHSE standards basically walk beside these. Now, obviously, the KHEP goes into a little bit more detail about drawing blood or choosing surgical instruments, or drawing blood, phlebotomy. So each program's going to have specifics, but as a whole, you see there's identified structural organizations, and these were from the medical assisting. So they're almost identical. And so I think that why it's important for us to use these standards. Now, again, not a paid performer here. I've spent a lot of time aligning standards for apprenticeship programs and every time we do, we always match the standards for several accrediting bodies. And NCHSE have been some of the best standards that I've used. They're very comprehensive and they cover a lot of material. And so just wanted to show you, coming to an end here. I don't know if this is going to come up or not. Hang on just a second. It is, but it's coming on a different one. some of the things that we talking about using Shaylee's AI. I'm trying to pull this over here so y'all can see it. This is something that we did, you know, mimicking some of the experiences that we'll see them help them get to the next stage in their level in their education. One of the reasons why we use the KHEP and the high school standards or the secondary standards is because part of our job in high school is to get them ready for that post-secondary education. Whether it's going into nursing, whether it's going into surg tech, whether it's going into respiratory therapy, whatever the case may be, they're going to continue that education. So we need to make sure that when we're teaching these things, we give them opportunity to show us their competency. So activity-based learning, project-based learning, competency-based, you know, assessments are going to be crucial. This is just one way. That's a low stakes way to simulate some of the nursing, and this is really cool. It was created with Articulate Storyline, but the student can click on this telemetry unit. Actually, the monitor can actually be manipulated on the other side by the instructor, so it can change in a heartbeat while the student's looking at the screen. And then this is just going to give you a printout. And then they can also, I don't know if you'll be able to hear or not, but you can also click here and it will give you heart sounds. And so they have this, and then there's an AI generated question with the response. So that's just another way that you guys can, just an example of how we can. We're not going to try these. I'm interested personally of how you guys do your clinical competencies. How do you grade their aspects of their clinical skills? A lot of it is pass fail. A lot of it is you either again pass fail, or you do 60, 80, and 100. How are you guys, man? How are you guys doing this? Because one of the things that when they get into the high school or in their post-secondary is they're going to have points. It's not going to be just a pass or fail. So how are we teaching them the steps that they take for each? Like, this is just PPE. I mean, it's not anything grand. But like for when they're doing hand hygiene, are we deducting points for having their uniform touch the sink, for example? Are you guys doing that at that stage in high school? Because that's one of the things that's going to get them ready for the next stage.
Chat.
Yep,
You want to put some things in the chat?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Still chats with grade, yeah. Good, okay. Yep. Yep, okay, sounds good. I like this. Yeah, because I mean, they've got to get ready for that secondary education, and it's going to be a pass or fail. It's going to be you can do this or you can't. Because your patient's either going to live or die. I hate to say it that way, but one of the simulations we did in the emergency room was we had a student who, she actually there was doing medical assisting, and we were in the office, and she had a patient that was crashing, and she was moving like a snail to go call 911. And when she got back to me, I was like, well, never mind, he's dead. Call a coroner. They've got to be able to teach they've got to be able to recognize in a low stakes environment that their choices have deep consequences. So, but what do we do about the student that is maybe a little more higher level cognitive than than some of the others, or that is a higher achiever? What do you guys do for differentiation? Because I mean, blood pressure is blood pressure, right? You've got to be able to take blood pressure, and we start out with a difference in 4 or 5 one way or the other. And we get them to narrow it down. But how do you differentiate that type of learning when a skill is a skill and a student's wanting to learn more? Right, communication, exactly. So one way is to have them, if they're an ACE and they are doing blood pressures, have them work with other students, right? Have them help them. Gives them a little more accountability and a little bit more responsibility. And again, I know we're running out of time. Yeah, I want to just say I enjoyed it. These are some of my students and some of the things that we've done. This was our anatomy lesson for the integumentary system. It always came around Halloween, so they took pumpkins and they made the layers of skin and all the accessory organs. So I really appreciate it. There's my information. If anybody wants anything, I know I kind of blew through this and it was very all over. It was all over the place. Basically took once, and I think they know it yet. That's it. Basically took 3 different webinars and kind of put it into one, maybe a little bit choppy. Pumpkins. Might be a little choppy. I'm sorry about that, but definitely would be glad to meet with anybody that has questions about blended learning, blending, doing station rotations in your classes and things like that to kind of generate a little more curiosity and more activities into the curriculum.
Melanie, I think I could add, because we do have a few minutes here, and that is some of us tended to teach the way we were taught, and we were afraid to give up the stage, and we lecture, and their attention spans can't tolerate it.
Yeah.
And so I heard you mention, student-centered learning and that type of thing. And you just have to get off the stage. You cannot,
Right.
And it will make your life easier too, to kind of flip the classroom and put it back on them. So I don't know if you wanted to say anything else about that.
No, that's one of the things I always when I'm working with a new teacher or a new instructor is you don't have to be right all the time. You have to know your subject. You have to know what you're talking about when you're teaching something, but you don't have to know everything about everything. And sometimes, even if I did know it, and I felt like that student, or I feel like that student needs to shine a little bit more, or they need some encouragement, and I'll say, again, like I said before, I don't know, I'm going to look it up. You look it up and see what we come up with, and let them come back and present it to the classroom. Some of them, again, I'm a big proponent of andragogy. Again, students have experiences. They've had a grandparent that's been sick. They've had a parent that's been sick, or a brother or a sister or cousins. They've had somebody that's had successes and some that have not. They have a lot to share. And I think we get so caught up sometimes, again, that curiosity has been so squelched in the majority of us that we just are here to give them this information. And it's hard sometimes when we're talking about accreditation and getting these standards and hitting all the marks, that we forget that they're here to learn and we're here to teach them. So we have to make sure, like you said, I like that, get off the stage. I may use it again, I may steal that.
I like what you said about you don't have to teach them everything. I remember being a first-year teacher and thinking, that I had to teach them everything I learned in nursing school. And then I saw them in the grocery store 2 or 3 years later, and I felt like I should have apologized to them because, I just was going overboard. And I think many of our teachers are health professionals who transitioned over to the high school secondary classroom to engage young people in health professions. And we take that, that intensity of being a health professional, and it is intense being a teacher, but we take, we put those two careers together and we're really too hard on ourselves, and
think
those
one of-
students really aren't going to fall out of the desk and die, and what they get will be just what they need. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and one of the things too, and I know a lot of people on here can relate to this.
They're dirty.
Was teaching medical assisting, we had a strict dress code, very strict. Couldn't have the earrings, couldn't have fingernails, couldn't have, And so one of the things that I finally got so tired of hearing, but when I go to the doctor, they have on big hoop earrings. I'm like,
I got a bill from WVU in there.
Wait a minute, Carrie, you need to mute.
I'm like, okay. Let me give you a scenario. Somebody was talking about gross stories. I'm like, okay, so you're helping an older person to the bathroom and they fall and they grab your necklace on the way down because they're falling. Well, that necklace is taking off half your skin of your neck. Let's talk about you. You want to work in pediatrics. You got those big hoops on. What you gonna do when that baby grabs that earring right out of your ear? And then the favorite thing is when they say, oh, but my nails. Yeah. Oh, but my nails. Here, let's take this microbiology. We're going to swab this and we're going to put it on the agar plate and we're going to grow it. Let's see how clean your nails are. So it's giving them those aha moments. And I always used to tell them, there's more than one way to skin a cat. How I draw blood and I teach you to draw blood is a safe way. I hold it a certain way, but you might get into your externship and they're going to teach you a different way. That's not meaning Miss Moore was wrong. That's not meaning that they're wrong. That's just, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So you're going to have to learn what's best for you that is in with the parameters of the safety of the patient and yourself. So I think that, from what I'm seeing, all the comments on here, I think we've got some great teachers out there.
Yes. So thank you so much, Melanie. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from some teachers, myself included, because I teach medical assisting and I know I could do a better job. So
took me years to.
Yeah. So we just have two other things just to tell you real quick before we wrap up, but then we're done for the day. And thank you for all of you who hung in there and listened and made comments and participated, and hope you learned something. So Condra has a couple of things and Kathy has a thing just to remind you about the Facebook page, and then we'll say our final goodbyes for the day.
Yes, I'm Condra. I'm the membership coordinator for HSEA. I just want to remind you guys, if you are not a member, please consider joining us. The benefits are invaluable. The resources alone are well worth your commitment. Some of you will be hearing from me with school starting back soon in regards to the membership spotlight on our Facebook page. Please, if you have the time, complete those and email them back to me. I love to read your stories. I love to share those on our Facebook page. What each and every one of you do is very important. We are all just little bitty pieces in this big puzzle of health science education, and it's wonderful to share and know what we're doing across the US and how we are changing things and impacting our students. And I do want to mention too that we will have some open officer positions soon. So soon as in like October soon. So please consider applying for those. We welcome your applications. We would love for you to make your voice heard and to make a difference in that aspect. So in and out of the classroom. And that's all I have, and I will turn it over to Kathy.
Okay.
Oh, unmute, Kathy.
Push it too quickly. Okay, our Facebook page, and I think you probably know we have it because that's how you got here. but let's take a peek. Okay. Everybody see it?
Yep.
Okay. So our Facebook page has many 3.9 thousand members. Again, I check it. I check it about once a day. The discussion, this is a great place to get new ideas. If you have some questions, just pose them, and everybody is really eager to help each other out. If you have something that you're particularly proud of that you just did, you can share it. I will warn you, when you share things, you can't share things that are copyrighted. So if you bought something on Teachers Pay Teachers, you can't share that information. So it has to be something that you have that privilege of sharing. We also, if you go to the files, you can search for things that way as well. So if you go to files, you can see the latest things that have been posted. But if you want to get more ideas for topics, I should try this. If you want some other ideas for employability skills, you can find things that way as well. We also have some featured things that are a good place to check out. Information about our conference, our membership, sort of highlights, like the highlight reel. So I would encourage you all to be active. Everybody here shared just a couple of activities that they are proud of. We'd all get a lot of great new resources.
Oh, all right. Thank you very much, Kathy. So, all right. I just want to again thank everybody so much. We do this for you, and we are open to any suggestions that you have, things that you want to hear about in the future, questions, comments. Just post them, send them to us, or post them on the Facebook page, and we'll be glad to help you out and answer them any way that we can. So, with that being said, does anybody else have anything else? We especially want to thank Nancy for her fine leadership of our organization. Without her, we all would not be here. So thank you so much for everything that you do. Try not to cry, because you have made me a better person. You've made me a better teacher. You've made me a better leader. So thank you very much.
Hey, and happy birthday to Lissa. We should all give her a round of applause for spending her 21st birthday with us. So we're glad she's here.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Nancy, you have any final words, or
I
Shelby?
don't. I hope we get to see some of you at upcoming webinars or either at our conference. I did put the membership link in for HSEA. It's $50 an annual fee. Tried to show you some of those exclusive classroom resources while Condra was talking about the organization. So we just want to be here to support health science educators across the nation and to make your life easier. So thank you for committing to this Saturday, and we hope everybody has a great school year.
Bye-bye, everybody.